Here we go. Let's go someplace new this time. The state of Mississippi, Ross Barnett Reservoir, and this guy trying to win his first Bassmaster Elite Series.
Man, we're just, we're idling out of here, day 2 takeoff, leading the whole shooting match. The fish bit early yesterday, and then they bit late. So it was kind of a lull. I was doing it 320. Thank you. So hopefully we can get on them early, you know, and go ahead and put a limit in the boat, and then maybe go hog hunting later on in the day. Once the sun got up, had a little grass bite that hated, you know, that actually got pretty good. So hopefully we'll go in here and start out quick.
Oh, it's another big one. Get in the flow, Chris. Wow! Yes. Oh my God. He is your champion, ladies and gentlemen.
It's the Academy Sports and Outdoors Bassmaster Elite at Ross Barnett. Being brought to you live by Lowrance.
Hey, welcome Friday morning. It's Bassmaster Live. We are taking you to the Magnolia State of Mississippi, about the south central part near the capital. Jackson is Ridgeland, Mississippi, our host city, and Ross Barnett Reservoir, the first time ever, as we say, for these Bassmaster Elite Series anglers. It's a unique place. We've never been here before. Tommy Sanders and Davey Height. Now, all of our playing fields, Davey, are supposed to represent a sort of a cross-section of the different challenges an angler would face in the course of the season. This one's got some specific ones.
It really does. This is very different than the last few lakes we've been to. Lake Okeechobee, so big and diverse. Toledo Bend, obviously, just a massive body of water. And then we've got Ross Barnett, that is a particularly small lake, the smallest lake we're going to fish this year on the Elite Series. But it's fishing small, so small and fishing small isn't really a good recipe if you're an Elite Series fisherman, but it's going to be really interesting this week to watch these guys when they fishing in crowds, fishing around other really, really good fishermen, the tricks they pull out of their bag to be able to catch these fish.
Bumping up against each other, getting on each other's nerves. We hope so anyway.
That's right.
Just kidding.
It's going to happen.
It's going to happen today. We don't hope so, but it will happen today. Day at the office for us, and a great office we got put together for you as usual here in the Toyota Bassmaster Studios. We have our great partners in crime here, including the Such Mike Sukon. What are you looking at today?
Hey, Tommy. People, ask questions at #BassLive.
Okay.
Now, don't ask this question. Zona, I saw him last night in the NFL draft in Philadelphia. He was wearing a Mitch Trubisky Bears jersey. And he had a gas mask, I think. Maybe it was a dream. I'm not sure.
I hope somebody sends you the first question, where is Mark Zona today? I hope it works out that way. Ron Moore today, and I know you got a lot of stuff to run down. We got Toyota Bassmaster Angler of the Year. Stats from this one. What's standing out so far to you?
I'm interested, just like Davey, to see how small it is. We'll have live cameras out there. We can't wait to see who's fishing near who and what tricks they do pull out, like Davey said.
All right, it is small. We'll run down the particulars of Ross Barnett in just a little bit. Let's take a look at the guys we are covering today. Our Rapala 4 live, including 4th place Keith Poche, the Natchitoches in the neighboring state of Louisiana, Red River guy, coming here to the Pearl River and definitely getting it done with 20 pounds and 2 ounces on day number 1. He's in 4th place.
And we got Marc Davis. Marc Davis has done it all in this sport. 3 AOYs, a classic champion, a veteran. He was even around before I started fishing bass, Tommy. And as you well know, him being from Arkansas, just a great fisherman. It's going to be really fun to watch him this week.
Yeah, he's notched a win in the state of Mississippi as well over in the Tin Tom Waterway. Big Fish Bobby Lane from the state of Florida. This guy looking for his second Elite Series win.
It is. Bobby is my pick to win this event.
Yeah,
before
that's right.
yesterday. It's going to be fun to watch him on live. We got good coverage here. Bobby Lane's always fun.
And our number 1 guy, Brandon Card. We've never had a graduate of the Carhartt College Bassmaster Series to win an Elite Series event. We've had one win the Classic this year, but Brandon Card, can he pull it out this time? He got very close last year at our event on Texoma there, and he's looking to close this one out, but he's got a long way to go before that gets done. Let's take a look. That's the general layout of Ross Barnett. Lots of big open water there, but that's kind of misleading. It's kind of hard to get around. We'll get into that as well, but let's get around as best we can early on today with our Rapala 4 Live, and start it off with our leader, Brandon Card.
Having fun out here, just throwing top water, my favorite technique, and fishing with my favorite bait, actually. So yesterday was just a phenomenal day. This morning I've already got 4 They're not very big, they're just keepers. But what I'm optimistic about is that they're eating it really well. Every one of them had 2 hooks, so that's a good sign. I just need to get it in front of the right fish, a few more big ones. I'm curious to see what the fishing pressure is going to do, you know, to this area. It's not a huge area and there's a bunch of boats in here. But I was surprised by how many fish were in here yesterday, so we'll just have to keep them honest and milk it for all it's worth and just see what happens.
Well, Brandon Card laid it out for us at the very top of the show. He said early on, I got the big bass chasing shad, and I'm taking advantage of that. I got a little something in the middle of the day, and I got something late, but this is what happened earlier today.
14.5, number 1.
It's great to hear him say he's fishing his favorite technique with his favorite bait, so this should be really good this morning watching Brandon, for sure.
Just surf him all the way in.
Brandon Card, we remember from last year. Lake Texoma, Bass Fest, making a huge charge on top on the final day. That was memorable and looks very familiar here today.
It looks very familiar, Tommy.
He'll be a line burner.
If you remember that event, the water was dirty.
Yeah.
Unusually dirty to be throwing top water. Same situation here, Ross Barnett. A lot of folks don't throw top water lures when the water's this color, but he's showing you that you can certainly have success.
Exciting stuff to watch and a quick early start for Brandon Card today. Lots of bites, that's always a good sign.
14.25.
Great coverage and lots of bites.
Yes, sir. Let's take it out for Brandon Card, fishing lower into the lake, not too far from the dam area. It's not too far. Again, this is a small body of water on the Pearl River here, up to the top of the lake. That's where we find a couple of guys. We knew they were fishing in the same area today. 4th place, Keith Poche. 3rd place, Marc Davis.
Marc Davis here live. Give us an update.
Had 1 gar bite so far. I haven't seen a fish caught, you know. Keith's right behind me. You know, we leaned on these fish pretty hard yesterday. You know, 40 pounds come off of this little area right here, so I'm not surprised that they're not doing anything right now. Actually, by the end of the day yesterday, it was really, really hard to get a bite in here. So, you know, I don't know. It's hard to say. We'll wait it out, see what happens, but look like it may be going to plan B pretty quick.
Tommy, this is going to be such an interesting tournament to watch. Every Bassmaster Live has a different little flavor to it. One of the most often questions I've ever been asked since I was fishing professionally for 20 some odd years, how do you know when to stay, when to go, when you should stick with a place and when you should leave? And Mark just mentioned we might go to plan B really quick. That being said, don't forget he said Keith Poche was behind him. He may have said that to start the wheels turning in Keith Poche's head. Do I need to go to plan B and leave it for Mark? So there's a lot going on here, and it's going to be very, very interesting to watch the next couple of days.
It really kind of gets to be a chess game when these guys are so close together, doesn't it?
It does.
We got 109 anglers underway out there. Again, this is the 2nd day of fishing. We'll take it down to 50 plus, I think 52 after today, or 51 after today. Dave Mercer sent them off first thing this morning, about 6:15 a.m. Central Time. Our Triton on the line guy, guess who? Dave Mercer. There's Dave right there.
There's Dave. How you doing, Dave?
How you doing, Dave? Hey, we've got, we always want your take on the general vibe of a tournament. You're there with boots on the ground. Tell us what the feeling is among these guys. Is there anyone who feels supremely confident, or is everyone sort of just hoping to scratch it out the best they can?
if there's someone in this field that's feeling confident, I am yet to talk to them. Honestly, I hate to sound like I'm repeating myself, but I've said this at several other events this year. It's the Florida season in the way that, that one big fish bite separates it. If you look at, Brandon Lester, for example, you look at his weight. I mean, he's got a 7-pounder in that bag and a 5 to go to it. So it's not like when you see all these 20-pound bags, it's not as simple as it looks on the scales. And it's a very fickle event. When you look at Terry Scroggins, one of the stories he told on stage yesterday, guys, was he said, man, it's all about making that right initial decision. He said he was fishing the exact same spot as Poche and Davis, and a lot of guys, I mean, I talked to a ton of guys in the docks that said they were right there watching it, but where Big Show set down was 75 yards short of where he needed to be. Those guys fished ahead of him, and he said he sat and watched the show. So frustrating that they, a guy like John Murray, he's there as well, just outside, and he said, I don't know, those guys are just on the juice. I mean, and I asked him, I said, is it a particular structure? And he said they've just got the right part of it. He says there's some humps down there and that sort of thing. And he said that part seems to change, in his opinion, day after day. So we'll see if that is the right part today. But this tournament definitely turning into that big fish bite, and that's really not a shocker. A lot of the guys going into this, they said the most important thing in this tournament is getting that 4-pound plus bite. If you can get that, it is absolute gravy from there. But you got to get them early too. Guys said, man, you got to get them first thing. If you're waiting for an afternoon bite, and yesterday's afternoon was probably a little different than what we've been experiencing, because it basically turned into perfect fishing conditions in the afternoon, and a few guys culled up. But for the most part, most of our field has told me I do my damage by 9 o'clock, and if I do not have them by 9 o'clock, I don't know what to do after that. And it'll be very interesting to see at this point in the season, with so much pressure on these guys. And Davey, you've experienced it, 4 events in, and you look at a lot of those names that are down in the latter half of our Toyota Bassmaster Angler of the Year standings, the extra pressure, it starts ratcheting up, and especially on a fishery when you're not fishing something that nobody else has fished. I mean, these guys are cycling through. You can basically sit on a point and watch half the field fish it, because one after another, they're coming through.
Well, Dave, let me ask you this. We know we've had Jordan Lee, our first winner from the Carhartt College Series, to get his start there to win the Bassmaster Classic. Still haven't had one to win the Elite Series. As we watch Brandon Card right now, give us your handicap Brandon Card for us here. What do you think the probability is of him hanging on for 3 more days?
You can't say anybody's safe right now. I mean, there's a lot of fishing left to be done, but I think Bass Fest did a lot for Brandon Card last year, and I did talk to him about that at the beginning of this season. I said, how much did getting that close, motivate you? And he said it was less of a motivation, he said, because I've always had that motivation to win. But he said it was more of an aha moment, more of a moment where he can say, man, I can win. I had the bites to win that tournament and, potentially beat Greg Hackney, who is basically one of the hottest anglers in the sport over the last 5 years. So he knew that kind of taught him that he's got what it takes to win, and he desperately wants that win here this week. But this fishery is I think I'm seeing signs of Lake Conroe type thing, where it's one of those fisheries where you're going to see that leaderboard flip a lot. I mean, look at Cliff Pace. Cliff Pace on the dock this morning told me that yesterday was the single most humiliating day he's ever had in the sport of bass fishing. And I said to him, I said, man, I hear you, I understand. He's like, no, you don't understand. And I said, okay, evidently I don't understand. But, and I said to him, well, what happened? And he said, if I lost the fish, it'd be one thing. He said, but what it was just all about rotation. He said, I was boat 109 out. By the time I got there, he said, my first 5 spots, there was boats all over them. And he said, I had nowhere to fish. So will be interesting to see, because obviously the field flips today. He was boat 109 yesterday. He was boat 1 out today. So it'll be interesting to see how that is reflected in his result.
Well, Dave and Davey, I want you guys we talk about the big fish element in this tournament here. There is one big fish element that's off the table finally at this 4th stop of the year, and it was pointed out on the blog maybe by Craig Lamb yesterday. First tournament where there's not going to be spawners on the bed. So that X factor, someone jumping a giant on the bed and changing everything, is out of it. I mean, that's a different deal. It's a different setup, right?
Yeah, for the first time this year, and we'll have some events later in the year that the spawning, when you go up north and the smallmouth will still be spawning, that sort of thing. But it's a different factor. Dave, I got one quick question for you, though. I'm with you there. It could be a Conroe type tournament. So the person that comes from back in the field, like a Jordan Lee, who's your dark horse that might surprise us all on Saturday or Sunday this week?
I've been looking at all week, and for just some reason, I mean, he's Marc Daniels Jr. I mean, you got to watch him. He's doing decent right now. I think he had about 14 pounds yesterday. But I feel like, he's on the kind of bite where he can continue it on. He's got a lot of experience here, and he seemed pretty confident. So if I'm going to pick a guy, not really a dark horse, but he's still a ways back, but I'd say Marc Daniels Jr. is a guy you may want to lay some chips on the table for.
All right. Dave, thank you so very much. Steve Bowman backs you up on that. He says Marc Daniels is a guy we need to get to know out there, and hopefully we will get to sometime, maybe not at this one event, but somewhere along this season here. Could be at this event. We're still at this event, and early on day number 2. We're watching Brandon Card kind of moving around, getting reset in a little bit of a different spot. Let's get up to Big Fish Bobby Lane, our second place guy, not by much on day number 2, and he's still our second place guy as far as bass track goes.
It's great to see we got good coverage for Bobby. He's always so entertaining on live or when you're in person with him at any time. And it's fun to watch him throw this vibrating jig, but when he breaks out that flipping stick and you're around pads, you're around grass, it will be something to watch for sure. Bobby Lane is, I've watched a lot of guys flip, and some guys seem to really specialize flipping wood or boat docks, that sort of thing, but Bobby Lane is as good as I've ever seen flipping vegetation.
A little bit of shades of the last time we were on the Red River with Keith Poche and Bobby Lane down in the same section doing something not too far apart. We'll get our first look at Keith Poche, I'm sure, before too long here.
And it's going to be so interesting today to see if these fish can replenish. You had Marc Davis and Keith Poche fishing basically the same spot, and it's not been so good for them early this morning. And Bobby Lane, you saw when he was talking right, it looked like 75 yards away from him is Marty Robinson fishing right there, and he had a good day yesterday. So we'll see if these fish can stand this pressure.
Well, you pointed out before we started the day, this is Mississippi, not too many big bass fishing lakes here, and this one's closest to the most populous area in Mississippi.
I bet that boat's seen a lot of fish catches in its day.
We were wondering over here, Such, is this the biggest reservoir in Mississippi? Maybe we could look into, I thought maybe Sardis Lake up to the northwest might be a little bigger. We're
not sure. I can look that up.
Yeah. We're on the Pearl River here, which heads up.
Good way of feeling for the sharpness of your hook is just use the back of your fingernail, and if it sticks, you're good to go. If it slides on your fingernail, then you need to change your hook. I check my hooks all the time.
I think that's Bobby talking to Mike Iaconelli. So there. A lot of really good fishermen fishing very close to one another. It's just, it's going to be real interesting to see if they can stand this pressure. And Brandon Card fishing right basically at the takeoff, and
oh God,
not as many people right there. Hooked up.
Barely hooked. Little upgrade. Seems like I'm always hooking myself. There we go. Little upgrade. Probably about a 2-pounder. Hold him up as high as he possibly can go to try to make him look as big as he can look. That one wanted it right there. I was reeling it back in. It's a 2-pounder. Now the fun begins.
Brandon Card getting it sorted out. Doing very, very well, just about better, I think better than anyone else so far today. We got him unofficially with the 5-fish limit and 7.5 pounds. Not too far from Bobby Lane. Marc Davis, we talked about, in fact, right behind Marc Davis, is Keith Poche.
Oh man, first thing this morning, the fish, they were just, they were off in that little ditch yesterday morning, but today they're not there for whatever reason. There was just a little group of them. You know, as you can see, there's so much stuff they can get in. They just pull out that ditch and get in these little mats and these pads, but I had one good bite on a frog and he just missed it, so just keying on some of these isolated patches of grass here. But that's how I caught a couple yesterday. So it's a little slow this morning, just a little bit. But I kind of expected that after, you know, Mark and I catching 20 pounds apiece out here. I mean, you can't expect to just come back and whack them again. A situation like this, I mean, shallow fish, they typically don't hold up. We're gonna keep digging though.
You know, Tommy, I talked to Keith and Mark last night, and they were both somewhat optimistic about this place replenishing because there's 15 feet of water not too far from where they're at. They're up fishing 2 to 5 feet, and it really seemed like they were trying to convince themselves and me, but I agreed with them. Even though they're fishing the same spot, you can see that the main lake is right out there. They're at the last place these fish are going to stop going out, and I really felt like their place could and should replenish somewhat, but they've both got to be really, really disappointed because the fish have been schooling on this spot. And this morning, obviously, that hasn't happened at all. So
back and forth.
With no early morning action, no schooling, that's not a good sign that these fish have replenished. But there again, it'll be very interesting to see which one says mercy first and try somewhere else. And if they do, does the other one catch him, or do they both stick it out? You know, the dilemma is going on right now. They're both thinking, what is Plan B, and should I go with it? And it's going to be great to see what happens and which one says mercy first. So
be about 3 ways that this can go.
Yep. And 2 of them are bad.
Yeah. Marc Davis, about a dozen years ago, more than a dozen years ago, not too far from here in the state of Mississippi, the Tin Tom Waterway. One of the old Bassmaster Elite 50 events. Went out there and just swamped the field, won by 20 pounds in 3 days of fish. You were there for that. You were definitely one of the Elite 50.
He's up over there.
Yeah,
I was hoping I can go back over there and fish. They need to stay back. Getting hung up on stumps.
Yeah, Mark taught us all a valuable lesson about how to catch him there. And wasn't Mark your pick coming in this event?
I did pick him, actually.
That's awesome.
I had a first pick. I was told someone else already had that pick. We're gonna I think, roll out our picks today a little bit later officially. Okay. Someone else had that pick. Said, I don't want to be on it with someone else. Just give me Marc Davis.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a guy that's done it all several times over.
Yeah.
But hasn't won one in a while, so it wasn't like you were jumping on the gravy train.
No, I'm not going momentum. I was just going overall awesomeness, I guess, in shallow water.
Yeah.
Super shallow. And this is a shallow plate, 9 feet on average here at Ross Barnett.
And that's why I picked Bobby Lane.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there he is. He'll keep, I think. I think he'll keep. He's a small one. It'll work. Oh, yeah. Put a pound and a halfer. Get the morning started. I seen that fish wake over there on the edge of that grass. Make sure that is 14. It looks like it. It's 15. Seen him wake. They'll show themselves sometimes. And smallest fish I put in the box this week yet. But that's okay though. You gotta start out somewhere. Oh, I love that bite. Thought I missed him there first. I done threw in that mat like 3 times already, and he finally come and got it. One of my better fish yesterday, that happened. I seen him move. I went over there and it took me like 2 or 3 casts to get him to bite, but sometimes you gotta just aggravate him a little bit. So you see the shad flickering when I go over those mats.
How's that for some Rapala 4 live?
There we go. Yes,
great
first of the day, our first quad split going now.
It's kind of similar to yesterday, except it was spitting some rain yesterday.
One thing I've noticed since I've been doing the Bass Live with you, Tommy, is when you see a guy that you know is his technique, his deal, his specialty, pay close attention. Whether he's catching a fish or not, you can learn a lot. Brandon Card said this is his favorite way to fish and his favorite lure.
That was a big one that come up on the frog a while ago.
So watch what he does with his hands, with his rod and that sort of thing. And then I mentioned earlier, Bobby Lane is the best straight up vegetation flipper I've ever witnessed. You can learn a lot about him by just watching him, and we'll go into some of those things.
Sure, absolutely.
And then you got Keith Poche throwing a frog. Oh, by the way, he's pretty good at that too. Keith Poche still looking for his first Bassmaster Elite Series win. Got very close back at Pickwick not too long ago till some heartless son of a gun closed him out on the final day. And there's a little trivia question for you. Who did that? I think we know. There was a little mental games going on in that one too.
Yes, there was.
Interesting, interesting. Good point. One thing, speaking of Keith Poche, one thing that I noticed on that bite that he just got on frog, it's so important. It's so hard to do. Tommy, I'm sure you've done this. I've done it 100 times, 1,000 times maybe. That fish, there's usually a frog bite is just so aggressive, and you want to just
jump on it. Yeah,
you do, but it's so important. Just wait and make sure that fish got that frog, because if you don't take it away from him, they'll usually come back. But it's hard to do, but it's really important to make yourself be patient enough to wait. Basically, look at it like your bobber or your cork, or if you're an Elite Series pro, I call it the strike indicator.
Yeah.
Make sure it goes under the water before you set the hook.
That's a good way to put it right there. And you, like you say, it's hard to do. I mean, you throw a flog because you're addicted to adrenaline,
right?
And then you have to fight it at the moment of truth there.
And oh, by the way, you're fishing the Bassmaster Elite Series, which kind of pumps it up another notch. So. And when I talk about Bobby and what a good flipper he is, watch when his bait hits the water right around beside these clumps and all, it's just really silent, really quiet. He's a great Florida fisherman. This place, that's why I picked him, because this place reminds me of a Florida lake. When he pitches this bait in there, it's just going to be so gently, just eases it right in there. And he dissects these different parts of vegetation, these clumps, this floating vegetation, and he's looking for exact something within that vegetation. To most people, that just looks like a lot of grass right there, but to Bobby, there's the bases of these thicker clumps that are a little taller, where fish like to relate to the hard bottom, whether they're spawning or post-spawn. These pads, I see 3 different kinds of vegetations there. They just offer a lot of variety, and he's picking them apart. It'll be so fun to be able to watch him today if he keeps his flipping stick in his hand.
Tommy, Ross Barnett's the second largest lake in the Mississippi. Granada Lake's number 1 at like 35,000.
Second biggest, Granada Lake.
And Ross Barnett's 33.
Grenada Lake.
33, and is it Granada or Grenada?
I think it's Grenada.
Grenada?
I think that's
they
right.
count Pickwick here on the Mississippi largest lakes, but there's only corner there.
Yeah, it's just kind of meanders over there for a little bit.
Just got a text from Z reminding me that all the Bass Live events that you and Zona have done in the past, the ones that are immediate post-spawn are the barn burners right down to the end.
Last fish it usually comes down to, which is a great prospect for us. You know, whatever other prospects, and we'll get to our TH Marine Weather Watch before too long, but
it's a good way of talking big and to eat it.
To put it briefly, the wind is coming today at some point.
Okay.
We don't know what point in the afternoon it's going to get here, but it is coming. So that will change things a bit.
It certainly will.
This is a place with really not much in the way of current generation, so like a Florida lake, it's, you know, there's a no current deal. You rely on the wind for your current, your positioning.
And just like a Florida lake, because this one is so shallow, it's so similar, it'll create a current, it'll fluctuate the water level, but depending on the direction of the wind, but it'll also stir up the shallow silted areas, and sometimes sometimes in lakes like this, most lakes other than say of Okeechobee or a lot of those Florida lakes, it'll actually help to stain the water, mix the water up just a little bit. We saw this past year, and I've seen many times that when that happens at Okeechobee, it really shuts them down.
Forecast is for about 10 a.m. It starts kicking up. Past 10 miles an hour.
I want to say thanks to the people of Ridgeland, Mississippi for hosting this and having such good Wi-Fi around town, because we have got great pictures coming up today, and all this first half hour has been very encouraging. I have a feeling that if something happens out there, we're going to see it, and we'll cover it for you. We'll be rolling our record machine during every break.
Golly.
Long and short. We're going to take a short one here in just a moment or two, but man, we've seen some good stuff so far this morning. Big Fish Bobby Lane striking, holding his place. His second place down right there. Got some movement up and down that leaderboard, but right at the top, things are looking very, very familiar. The way we started, Brandon Card on top, Bobby Lane in second place, and Dave Lefevre now moving into third. Take a break, be right back.
The Academy Sports and Outdoors Bassmaster Elite at Ross Barnett is brought to you by Berkley, Hook, Humminbird, Mercury, Minn Kota, and by Nitro Boats.
Facts matter. All monofilament is not the same. Berkley is the strongest, smoothest, most dependable monofilament line in the world. Why would you risk your fishing trip to a line that's made who knows where just to save a buck? Berkley has been making and perfecting trilene in America for over 75 years. I spool nothing less than the best. That's Berkley trilene, and that is a fact.
Champions aren't born, they're created. Every turn of the prop, every mile on the lake, every cast of the rod, every fish they catch, and every pound they weigh. It builds who they are. It builds a legacy.
Now for your 2016 Bassmaster Angler of the Year!
Hey, thanks, Dave.
Out of office?
Oh, man.
Hi, this is Skeet. Skeet, out of office?
Dude, don't be mad because I thought of it.
What?
I gotta go. I got someone on the other line. Go to teamgtfishing.com to check out my real job.
We're supposed to be working.
I am working.
Is there a place where the underwater images are the clearest you've ever seen? We're seeing every fish, we're seeing every detail of structure, and where every bottom contour was visible, where whatever you wanted to see below the surface was real. Do you want to go? Structure Scan 3D is the future of fishing. We can show you how to find fish faster and catch fish in a way you've never experienced. Let's get them.
Is this being in the moment? Is this hanging out? And is this really playing with your kid? Don't stop what you're doing to capture what you're doing. Keep running, keep playing, keep dancing. Just keep doing.
GoPro, start recording.
You're watching the Academy Sports and Outdoors Bassmaster Elite at Ross Barnett. Brought to you live by Lowrance.
You know, practice was kind of a grind. I was getting, you know, a fair amount of bites. A lot of them were little. I would get a key fish just maybe once every day or so. So it was a grind. I was fishing fast in practice, so I just kind of went back in those areas where I had the good bites. I only had, you know, a few good bites in practice. and really just hunkered down and just, you know, milked it for everything it was worth. Hopefully I didn't milk it too much. I guess we'll see tomorrow. Knuckles.
Brandon Card, the man who stood above all the others after one day of fishing here on Ross Barnett. And that's the case so far on day number 2 as well, with a 5-fish limit. Not big fish, but 5 fish in the boat for Brandon Card, and we're back out to Brandon live. Let's get you set up on Ross Barnett here a little more in depth here as we take a look at our Humminbird lay of the lake, Davey. And again, first time for the elite players here at this lake on the Pearl River. Heads up about a county and a half away from here and runs all the way down to Lake Bourne near New Orleans and into the Gulf of Mexico. Very sandy, very wild, kind of backwoods sort of place here, this Pearl River. They call it the Res around here. It's only 16 miles long, 7 miles wide, but a lot of stumps because it's kind of new like the Lita Bend.
A lot of stumps, a lot of cover, a lot of vegetation, cypress trees, stumps, that sort of thing. Makes it kind of difficult to maneuver around. You have to idle in some areas, a lot of these backwater areas. And it's interesting that Brandon Card is just right there at the launch catching his. He's not having much trouble getting around and not burning much gas either. We'll see, because he said he had a deal that worked yesterday midday and also in the afternoon. But a lot of the fish yesterday were caught, and I think will be caught today, up lake where we've seen Marc Davis, Keith Poche, Bobby Lane. In the background there, I saw Marty Robinson, Fletcher Sharrock, Mike Iaconelli, a lot of really, really good fishermen that have moved up this lake. And you see the twisting and the winding and the ditches and the maze of opportunities, I guess I should say, for these fish. It makes a great fishery to have ditches and turns and channels and places for these fish to move from 8 feet of water up to 2 feet of water. And the wind blowing this afternoon hopefully is going to make these fish active again, because it's really, really calm, like you said, basically no current, but the wind will create some. And Marc Davis and Keith Poche are definitely hoping for that and relying on some water movement to put some fish up on this spot that they're fishing.
Yeah, lots of stumps and no boat lanes, so you can't just run at will out there. You got to kind of pick your way around. It's a little Red River-like in that respect.
It really is. A lot of lower units have been lost here in places like this. Especially fishing a tournament, which you have a lot of events here, and you want to get around as quickly as you can. And just when you say, "Oh, I'm going to risk it," you'll knock your lower unit off, hit a cypress stump, or something like that.
Interesting to read all these interviews with these anglers after practice and after day one, and there's just a lot of different philosophies out there when it's so crowded in a fishing small type places, where there's some guys just say, I don't care, I got to get by myself, I don't care what it looks like there. The others say, hey, I got to work it out, I got to have a working agreement with these guys around me.
Get busted if you don't be careful.
Tommy, you make a great point there, because I've had some of my worst finishes saying I've got to get away from these folks. I can figure something out somewhere else, and sometimes you just crash and burn doing it. It
sinks you sometimes.
It's so hard to fish in a crowd of really good fishermen, but sometimes you just have to.
Ah, yes. That's a little better. Kind of what we're looking for right there. Seen him come up, he boiled on it and didn't get it. It's like I had another one missing. He ain't that big, but good 2-pounder, 2.5. Oh, that's fine. I mean, I've made several casts right there. I just hit the right little spot and right little mat, right corner. I don't know what that grass is called, but it's just viney and it leaves out on top and kind of mats up. And they like it. I like it, they like it.
An alligator take one of the spots in the Rapala 4 live. You see that on the bottom left?
No, is that what that is? Okay.
Yeah.
Steve Bowman's up there on Bobby Lane. He said he can see about 30 competitors in that area.
Not counting the alligators.
Well, we said we were going to roll out. We did do some official predicting, I think, yesterday. And there it lays out, Davey. You picked him. Bobby Lane, what a great pick. Ronnie on him as well. Mike Such with Defoe. Maybe not as big a blow up yet as you were expecting, but it's still
thought he'd find some sneaky upriver deal.
Okay.
Zona and Such aren't out of it. Alton in 30th after day one. Defoe 32nd, so they're both in the 13-pound range. Probably a good, solid, consistent weight. If you were to catch a weight, 13 to 15 a day would get you a good finish here.
Yeah. Our picks are looking pretty good so far, but yeah. I'm gonna have to think back to what Dave Mercer was talking about there. This thing could be somebody come out of nowhere on Sunday. It really could, because I think we're already seeing this morning that these backwater areas got a lot of pressure yesterday. Ooh. And it's not getting any easier on them. Bowman just said he saw 30 boats just in the area he's in.
And to preface that, all those picks were made prior to the event. We didn't make them after day one standings, just for people watching.
Dave Lefebvre's sneaking up there. He's got a 4 and a 3.5 and a 2.5, and he's climbing.
That's a guy you better watch. Shallow water, a few pads around.
Yeah, he's the walking contradiction, the Great Lakes guy who likes to get the shallowest shallow water he can find and flip a jig in there or something in there.
It's really amazing. That's a good point, Tommy, that if you know where he's from, and it's like smallmouth heaven, and this guy fishes with a jig in his hand for largemouth everywhere he goes.
Another keeper, at least.
Things picking up for keep.
Yeah, me and them pads. I couldn't tell how big it was. A little bit small today, but it's on there.
Got a great shot there. You see the fish eat that frog, and then he waits and sets the hook. But that's kind of like me fishing. It helps a lot when you're looking the other way.
Yeah, that's right. How many fish have you caught in your life where you were messing with a snarl or looking the other way? Let's look at one more time.
Here's the best way to fish a frog. If you have a tendency to jerk it away from them, turn your head 90 degrees left, look for the bite. Oh, he got it. Set the hook. That's the best way. That's what I have to do when I get close to a really good mat. I think he had turned back looking at it before the bite, but I'm just joking there. But that's a great shot. You can see waiting until after that frog goes out of sight underwater before you set the hook. Did a great job there.
Treat it like a bobber.
Treat it like a bobber.
Speaking of sneaking up, Tim Horton has climbed from 60th to 5th place. He's got a limit of about 12.5.
Wow.
Huh? Yeah, if y'all can just stay kind of, I'm gonna be working this. I'm not gonna come, y'all don't have to follow me away. If y'all can shoot from that way, I just don't want to, because I'm gonna be fishing all these little isolated, yeah.
If y'all could go over to Jackson.
See. Maybe Grenada. Yeah. That's the biggest lake in Mississippi.
I've been there, done that. You won't
so much
have all the room you can, but a boat moving around a little bit. On this body of water, they see it every single day.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think it disturbs the fish as much as it disturbs the fishermen.
Yep. First thing in the morning bite, this is kind of what happened yesterday. The bite lasted until about 8:30, so we still have a little bit more time as far as that morning feed goes. Then it kind of slacked off for a while, and then it picked back up like around noon. So I don't know if today's going to be like yesterday, but we'll wait and see.
Oh, yeah.
Bobby Lane's measuring Marty's fish from about 100 yards away.
That's a special talent.
Believe me, I've done it too. Let's hope short. Let's hope short is what he's saying.
Got a couple of 5-pounders. Jared Lintner just landed one, and Clun had one earlier this morning.
Wow.
Good ones, good ones. Did you see that with Bobby?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, they're probably good friends. Most all guys fishing the Elite Series get along really, really well, but he just showed you the true colors. I sure hope you catch a non-keeper.
Yeah, I mean, it's you can be great friends, but it's still your job to beat this fellow's brains out.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
on a daily basis.
Because I promise you, he wants to beat yours.
Yeah.
Okay. It's all part of the process. You watch people, but you don't. I've heard guys say, "Oh, it's just me and the bass," and all that stuff. I don't buy it at all. Mm-hmm. Or I don't think you're being the complete fisherman that you need to be if you're not aware of what's going on around you on the water, and not just so much watching somebody else catch a fish, but the movement of the water, the bait, the shad, the birds, all those things. You have to be aware of what's going on around you to be a good angler, in my opinion.
Well, if every fish catch gives you feedback, you can double up your feedback by watching that guy next to you catch a fish. As painful as that may be, right?
While you're pulling against him.
Yeah.
One of the cool things that I've been able to do since doing this Bass Live with you, Tommy, is talk to these guys after the first day of the tournament. So last night I talked to the top 4 guys, and Bobby Lane said something. Marty just threw back another one. Bobby Lane said something last night that was interesting. Actually, it wasn't dark yet, and he was still in his boat rigging his tackle for today. And I asked him, was a shad spawn going on? He said, I think so, but maybe not. And that's what I was hoping for. We've talked about that so much this year in every event we've been to, and to see a lot of action early on. But he said, I just pumped out my live wells and not a single shad in the live well. That's something I always pay attention to, and Bobby said that on his own to me. He said, I think if there were many shad in the area and they were spawning, that there would be some shad or partial digested shad in his live well. So a little disappointing to hear that, because if there is a shad spawn going on, we always get good fish catches early on from multiple guys.
Well, and see, yesterday Clifford Perch posted on social media, he had a handful, probably 6 or 7 shad from his live well, and he said, caught these fish, 8 hours ago. I weigh them in, and I come back and I got, this many shad in my live well. So.
Yep. So I would say the area that he's in, that there are some shad spawning, but not so much where Bobby and a lot of these other guys are. Brandon Card fishing the boat docks and fishing this riprap, that's definitely what he's looking for, and did a good job finding it yesterday. But these shad love to spawn along riprap, along these floating boat docks.
Does this cloud cover help those guys who are trying to key in on that shad spawn, make it last longer?
It does. I just think it's at the tail end, like the bass spawn is basically gone. Then the shad are usually just a little behind, or about they start about midway of your bass spawn. But it looks like on this lake that the shad spawn's going away also.
So what, they finish spawning, and then they'll move a little farther out and get turned into these big balls of bait that make the
transition out.
Yeah, when you catch those big fish on top in the middle of the summer, you see a bunch of them breaking the water in the summer. Okay.
And sometimes they won't even come up to the surface when they're out there. You'll see them on your electronics more so when they move out there. But my rule of thumb is I fish shallow until those shad make that move. And it's like they're kind of right in the transition now here. It's like some of them have moved out, but there's still a few around. You mentioned Clifford Perch had quite a few in his live well. So, and Brandon Card, the way he's fishing the top water lure, that he's using, and also the cover that he's fishing around, the boat docks and the riprap, leads me to believe he's trying to hang on to the last little bit of the shad spawn to catch his fish. It makes for tough fishing when these fish are just transitioning, and they're always doing that. We've been talking about it all year.
Oh yeah, every tournament.
Different parts of the country, different transitioning going on, but it makes it tough when these shad, there's still some shallow, some have moved out.
Davey, one thing that was interesting, I was just at the Chickamauga Southern Open right before this. A lot of anglers came from there to here, and I even saw those offshore pods of bait that were doing the shad spawn. Like, I was sitting out in the channel, and I could see shad spawn going on around those channel buoys, even you know, sitting over 20 or 30 feet, just any hard surface that they can get to.
Yep. That's one thing that a lot of folks don't know. The shad don't always have to be up in 2 feet, 1 foot of water to spawn. They can spawn, you know, they don't make a nest. They spawn in the water column. So it can be over 30, 40 feet, but they want to be up against a boat dock or a buoy, some kind of hard object edge along the surface. It can be 1 foot or it could be 40 feet.
Some guys like Edwin Evers got even further dialed in at Conroe, you know, finding the perfect little slack water conditions to get the best of the shad spawn there. It's an art for sure.
A lily pad, you know, they can use it back in these backwaters. They just some hard object, or at least semi-hard object.
Marc Davis up top left started 3rd place today. He's having definitely a slower day today. Down 1 fish, 2-pounder, falling out of the top 6. Keith Poche pretty much holding his place there.
Man, I've yet to get bit out of this clump right here. I don't know why. It's like the best looking stuff here. And it's crazy. And it's right in the middle of all the action, and it's just nothing.
Here's my theory on that. Did you hear Keith Poche?
Yeah.
The best looking piece of cover right in the middle of the best area, if you haven't caught one there, in my opinion, there's a wise large fish, or a large wise fish right there. The classic that I won, the best piece of cover right in the middle of my best area, I finally got I couldn't, and I've thought this before I won that classic. And I fished it for 3 days, multiple times, and on day 3, I finally got a bite there. It's the biggest bite I had in the whole classic.
Oh my gosh.
Speaking of big and wise.
Yeah,
I don't know about wise. Big.
He's a reptile, so there's a limit to how wise he is, but I'm not going to mess with the big part of it. That's a good one. There saw some great pictures of some giant alligators taken not too far from on Bassmaster.com. I think we saw a few of those pictures during the course of this week. Bassmaster.com and Bass Track giving us those numbers right there. Brandon Card hanging on to his lead barely above a charging Dave Lefevre. What a season he is having. He's moving up there in the Toyota Bassmaster Angler of the Year category. Jared Lintner having his best event of the season, at least at this point. Moving into the top 4. Bobby Lane hanging in there. Poche as well. Marc Davis having dropped down a little bit. Brent Chapman moved up in the top 4 briefly here. He's looking to have a good tournament, turn his season around a little bit here. So lots of stuff working here. We're going to break it down for you even more when we come back after a short break to Bassmaster Live from Ross Barnett Reservoir near Jackson, Mississippi, and Ridgeland, Mississippi.
Man, it's slow today.
Yep.
Mom, I caught a fish.
Good job, sweetie.
Hey, what kind of lure is that?
It's a Livingston. They have electronic bait fish sounds that activate as soon as they hit the water. Easiest way to catch a fish.
Hey, thanks.
The competition is fierce and the prizes are huge. The only thing missing is you. Fantasy Fishing presented by Toyota. Sign up for free and face fans from across the nation. Grand prize winner receives a Triton Yamaha package, including a Triton 189 TRX. MSRP of $37,293. The Classic and each individual Elite Event winner will receive $2,500 Bass Pro Shops gift cards, with the runner-up receiving a GoPro Hero 4 Black camera. Sign up and pick your team today at Bassmasterfantasy.com.
You know, at Advance Auto Parts, we have some of the most knowledgeable and helpful people working in our stores. We just thought you should know. Because buying online and picking up your part at the local Advance Auto Parts store is so easy that, well, the most they may get to say to you is, "Hi, here's your part." It's a shame, really. Buy online, pick up in store in 30 minutes. Advance Auto Parts. Let's get you back on the road.
Jackson, Mississippi, and the Ross Barnett Reservoir. It's a perfect place for the Bassmasters Classic. At first glance, Ross Barnett offers everything a bass fisherman could ask for. The 30,000-acre impoundment was developed by construction of a 3-mile-long dam across the Pearl River near Jackson.
Yeah, that was the, I believe, the 7th Bassmaster Classic, won by the guy that won the first Bassmaster Classic, Bobby Murray. There he is right there. Coming in 1978. This was a really young lake back then, less than 10 years old, or right at 10 years old at that point. Bobby Murray of Hot Springs, Arkansas. A great shot they picked up later of him in a vest in his office going over the map of Ross Barnett. They really did quite a production on that recap film of the Classic way back in 1978. Here's all the events that have been there. Bill Dance, one of the masters of this place. Bowen Martin, the great Ricky Green, all having won here. Mike McClellan, this is one of his wins in his big string of wins with the Bassmasters. Randall Tharp, most recent Elite Series member to knock out an Open, Bassmaster Bass Pro Shops Open. Back here in 2013, a local Gene Bishop won it the last time. The Bass Pro Shops Bassmaster Open this year, and that was just a couple of years ago. Pretty star-studded though through the years. It's been a place, it's been a destination. It's just the elites haven't gotten around to it yet, but they are grinding as hard as they can this week. Glad you're with us here on Bassmaster Live. Some good fish catches this morning. Brandon Card, who started the day with the lead, hanging on to that lead. Dave Lefevre with a 12-pound limit, and not even a limit, 4 fish at 12 pounds. So Dave Lefevre looking particularly dangerous at this point on day number 2. Bobby Lane, bottom left, started the day in second place. He's got 2 fish, but decent ones. Got him over 5 pounds at this point.
Bobby's still got some tricks up his sleeve, I guarantee you. Mark has got to be thinking about plan B right now. I'm so interested to see what Mark does if he doesn't get any bites in this area that was so good to him yesterday with all this pressure.
Him and Keith Poche in that same area, both getting off to a slow start this morning. Poche bouncing back. Now he's got 3 fish in the live well for over 5 pounds.
But nothing like what they saw yesterday.
No, they all did well early yesterday. The big change. That's the big change.
It's been a slower morning than yesterday, that's for sure, especially the size. I think yesterday the big ones were just eating. It was like a really super low pressure system come through, spitting a little bit of rain. We're still partially in a low pressure right now, but it's nothing like it was yesterday. So I think the big ones were just had their feed bags on. I've had a few bites here recently, well 30 minutes ago, that I didn't hook up on. One of them looked pretty decent, but only just a couple of decent bites so far.
Great thing about Bass Live, Brandon Card made a charge last year at Texoma with this exact same bait. Fish were in a similar mode, a little more shad spawn going on there than I think we've got here today. But when a Elite Series pro says his favorite technique, his favorite bait, even if they aren't catching fish, you can certainly learn a lot. The technique, the speed, the way he's retrieving the bait, that's a walking top water bait that you can retrieve 10 times faster than what he's doing, and some guys even a lot slower. But he's had a steady cadence, what I would call slow to medium cadence with this walking bait, and he's targeting these places that shad are typically spawning around, these boat docks and riprap, that sort of thing.
Well, he wasn't wanting for action, for takers, for biting fish this morning. Like he said, the only thing that's off is the size a little bit today, but certainly a good flurry of bites to start his day.
Yep, 14.5, number one.
14-inch limit, we got that. Ross Barnett here on these largemouth bass.
Just surf him all the way in.
When you get one on the surface like that and you're fishing a tournament, keep him on the surface. They tend to get off if one's on the surface like that and he goes back down. Like you said, Tommy, he's certainly getting a lot of bites early this morning. Just
he'll
not
be
the
a
size.
line burner. Oh yeah, 14.5. That's 3, baby.
Brandon Card again, we saw him last year at Bass.Fest in Lake Texoma. The year before that, we saw him sort of Spider-Man-ing his way through a drainage pipe out on Sabine River trying to get in, and he actually went in and caught a good one in a little hole back there.
He's also notched a top 12 on top water at the St. Lawrence River fishing for largemouth in 2015.
Yes. That worked out perfect. Pulled him right over that chain. That looks a little bit better. Knuckles. Oh, God.
Good shot of him there, being really, really patient. There again with a walking bait, just like a frog. Wait till
you did the no-look
under.
move you recommend, too, there. I see he had it all going. Putting it together, Brandon Card, early in day number 2.
As high as he possibly can go to try to make him look as big as he can look.
Brandon mentioned that we're still just a little bit in the low pressure. It's kind of moved through. They had a big system move through in the last 24 hours. Let's look at our TH Marine Weather Watch. This is pretty critical. Now, this is, some weeks it's more important than others. I think it's pretty important, especially when you look towards Sunday. Every prediction I see, there is going to be a huge, violent front go through at some point. It's not going to rain all day, but it's going to pass through there on Sunday. So,
looking at that T&H Marine Weather Watch just tells me even more. Dave Mercer mentioned, let's not forget that. Watch out for somebody coming from down in the pack that might win this thing on Sunday. That wind will change things for sure.
Again, you can see the wind expected to be afternoon today, 18 miles an hour. It's certainly far from it right now, but things are destined to change and pretty much blowing hard all day tomorrow on Saturday. So there's your current. There's your shake-up in the conditions right there, something to look forward to. You're right, Dave Mercer's prediction's looking more and more probable as we take a look at our TH Marine Weather Watch for today. Springtime weather can be violent here. this part of the country and just about every part of the country, and we're expecting a wild weekend weather-wise.
It's surprising to me, Tommy, that Brandon Card I haven't seen another fisherman around him. We've seen camera boats, a few spectators, but guys are crowded up so much in some of these other areas, and this big marina area with some shad spawn still going on for sure for some guys, and I think that's what Brandon Card's focusing on, and no other fishermen in this area. It's really surprising.
And we got Dave Lefevre now in second place. I expect any moment to see him move into the frame of one of our 4 shots right here, because a lot of these guys our leaders are tending to be in the same areas.
Yep. Keith Poche's got a lot of rods out on the front deck. You look at Brandon Card's boat, or even Marc Davis, and he's fishing right there. But to me, when you're fishing one spot and staying there basically all day, especially if you're sharing it with another angler, it's a good idea to have options and different choices, things tied on that you can pick up.
So a little blurb from Stephen Browning. They said he had 9 rods on there, and he used every one of them yesterday.
Had a great shot there. You saw that Brandon really slowed his bait down right when he was beside that post, that dock post, and once he got away from it just a few feet, reel it in as fast as you can and get that bait close to another target. It's a spot where shad would want to be spawning around that post. Work that bait. Oh, there it is.
Oh, they're not eating it at all right now. Saw him swim. He actually just kind of came and just nosed it and swam down with it. I thought he had it. Real nonchalant bite. Looked to be over 2. Dang it.
Check it out one more time, that bite from.
Like I mentioned, just close to that dock post, there was a fish obviously there, and took the bobber down, Tommy, but just didn't really want to get it good. Try to work that bait a little more, but he immediately picked up I would have done the same thing, and it's a good note to make that when that fish didn't want to quite come up to the surface and eat that bait, he picked up a soft plastic jerk bait so it could sink down close to that post, and a lot of times you'll get that fish to bite again on a different bait like that. He immediately picked up a bait that he could let settle down in the water column, but didn't work that time, but it will a lot. Looks like he's got a wake bait on there. He's throwing right by the same post, so he knows the fish is there. Just third different bait he's thrown there.
And it's worth noting at Texoma last year, one of his biggest fish on that final day when he almost won, he finished second. Hit his top water 3 times, and the third time he finally got it hooked good enough to get it in the boat.
Who was the rookie cameraman who was shooting that footage? I believe that was you, was it not, Ron Moore? Doing extra duty.
Got to do what you got to do. That was fun. That was fun. That was fun.
I shouldn't have been bragging about how good they were eating it earlier, because now they're hitting it with their mouth closed. It's crazy how much just conditions change the attitude of these fish. That fish in the morning probably would have choked it down like the other ones did.
Well, if you don't open your mouth, you can't taste the bait, as they say. Let's go to our Yamaha Taste the Bait right now. And what we've seen a lot of this morning is that stuff right there, stuff on top, Davey.
Stuff you live for. We've basically seen most of the guys, their choice for top water because they're around this vegetation is a floating frog. And Marc Davis catching one there. And that's what you want to see, the bait down in the fish's mouth and eating the bait, so to speak. But there again, Keith Poche, same deal, using a topwater frog. Did a great job there, waiting until the fish took the frog under before you set the hook and not taking it away from them. Because sometimes they'll just defend an area, not necessarily wanting to eat. So you need to be sure and make sure the fish takes the bait under before you set the hook.
Yes. That's what we're looking for right there. Seen him come up, he boiled on it and didn't get it. Like I had another one missing. He ain't that big, but being bigger.
Did a good job there. Waiting on the fish. What a difference a day makes. Yesterday, you hear these guys talk. Yesterday, the fish were eating these baits and bigger fish. They're in a different mood this morning, that's for sure. Great shot here, just fishing this bait slow by this piece of cover, and fish just couldn't resist. Finally hit at his bait right there. Not wanting to eat.
No, he looked like he was just escorting it out of the area there, which he probably was.
Exactly what he was doing, Tom. And from one day to the next, the weather conditions similar, but just fish are in a different mood. Early on, Brandon Card, everybody got the fish seemed to be eating, even though they were smaller fish than yesterday.
Just surf him all the way in.
You notice that where the bait is in these fish's mouth, that fish was definitely trying to eat that bait.
No look again. You're right, it works, David.
It works.
Everybody needs to mark that down.
You don't miss them like that. Just look the other way.
You got a topwater tied on, write that on your wrist right next to your check-in time.
Oh yeah, 14 and a half. That's 3, baby.
Pressured fish really respond well to top water. They just can't resist the action on the surface, and I think that's what we're dealing with here.
Small today.
All these leaders are starting out with top water, just different baits depending on the cover that they're trying to fish. The guys that are around that vegetation and the pads, the grass, having to use that frog to be able to come over that, and Brandon Card does a good job here getting his fish and those treble hooks over that chain.
Pulled him right over that chain.
His best of the day right there, Brandon Card. Part of his limit he's got in the boat right now. Unofficially about 7.5 pounds.
Oh, God.
That fish hit the 3rd time before he actually hooked that fish up.
Hold him up as high as he possibly can go to try to make him look as big as he can.
We took a poll. I think people would say, which kind of catch would you like to see the most? I think it would be like a landslide for the topwater.
Oh, yeah.
Here on Bass Live, and we've seen a ton of it in the 3 years of our live coverage of these events. And yeah, still the favorite, and that's our Taste the Bait.
Got a new leader, Dave Lefevre.
Wow.
He's got his limit. He's up to about 14 pounds and maybe about 2 pounds ahead of Brandon Card.
Sounds like you're trying to keep it a secret just a little bit.
There's a bull right there.
Maybe.
I was looking back. I was wondering the date of the Texoma event last year when the shad spawn was going on and Card did so well with topwater, and that was the first week of June. that shows you how advanced these fish are this year, how mild of a winter we had, that they're over a month ahead down in these southern states.
We're a good bit south of Texoma too.
Yeah, they got that Oklahoma-Texas border.
Yeah. Both of those factors for sure. The mild winter and that's farther north.
Yeah, we're basically on line with Toledo Bend here, pretty much. Actually, maybe even a little south of that.
Watching Mark here, but be interesting to see what Bobby Lane does. He's moved. If you just notice there, he'd been out in these scattered pads where these ditches and humps in the shallow water.
What do you think,
these pads are growing offshore. And Bobby just moved into
I just got
what
two.
I would call a hard
one.
line. It's not the bank because you can't quite get there because of vegetation, but it's what we refer to as a hard line.
It's about toast. Toast in here, son. Hey, you give me that light, didn't you? Was you the one give me that light for the power pole?
Probably Fred Rabanus.
Fred. Mine broke. Really? Yeah, I loved it, but it broke.
Sounds like a country song.
Mark was telling Keith that it's toast here. It's toast here, son. You need to leave. It's toast. Go away.
Yeah. We're not doing well. You need to head on out.
Exactly. We'll see if Mark makes a move here. Great shot there from the back of Keith Poche's boat. You see Mark there. They could cast in one another's boat, it looks like. But they did well yesterday being this close together from what I hear.
Well, maybe from our many sources, Bassmaster.com, out on the lake, we can figure out, we could speculate on. Here's a question. Did Dave Lefevre, was he one of the early guys to go to plan B, to get that flipping stick in his hand? Was that the way he was able to overtake the lead from back in the pack? That's something we can explore.
Maybe Steve Bowman can find him.
Steve Bowman.
What he's doing.
Where's Bowman now? Do you know Mike Sukon?
Not right offhand. He was up there with Bobby Lane, so he's probably still on him unless he's bringing his cards in for a gallery.
Everybody.
Now explain that.
Run around.
Well, after shooting so many images, if he gets some fish catches, he'll bring his cards into Overstreet, sitting there at the ramp. His camera card, and then James Overstreet will work those up and send them in and get them on the website.
A lot of folks working behind the scenes.
Absolutely.
Try to bring a good show.
Takes a lot of people to make a pound of sausage. Little jobs you didn't know about.
Disappointed in you, Tommy. The northernmost point of Toledo Bend is still 30 miles south of Ross Barnett.
Is it really? I like
30 miles.
At least I thought it was the other way around. I would have thought it was the other way around.
Still 30 miles.
Usually I can just throw something out there and people will buy it.
I buy it every time. I don't ever check you.
I did. I guess I get caught every now and then.
That's really close, though. I mean,
it is pretty close.
This out of growth here.
Still south of Texoma.
We're still, yeah, we are a good ways south.
Yeah. Oh, Mark is going to move. I thought he was just trying a little psychology. We'll see. The problem with moving here, if he leaves this, there's
there they are
circling.
Yeah. Good
you
point.
can't blame a guy for moving in. Keith and Mark doing so well yesterday. These guys are respecting that this little main spot is basically theirs, which is great of the other fishermen. But when you leave, you leave.
That's right. That's right.
Well, it'd be interesting to see
your
if somebody
claim is done.
Yeah, see if somebody else comes in and gets close to Keith Poche.
Andy Montgomery's trying to make up for a one-fish day yesterday. He's got a nice limit climb from 108th to in the 60s, and boy, he lost a lot of AOI positions yesterday from tied for third to like 27. So he's got room to make up a lot of those points.
Means a lot. That certainly means a lot for AOI or qualifying for the Classic. Still not up where he needs to be to fish tomorrow, but he's certainly headed in the right direction. Marc Davis is thinking, really thinking on his move now. See if it pays off for him, or if Keith Poche is the wise one, stay in, and if he can catch anywhere close to what he caught there yesterday by being patient.
Well, you heard both of them say the same thing. You know what? There was 40 pounds taken out of this area yesterday. We're being very optimistic if we think that's going to be repeatable today.
And Mark's certainly the one with the most experience there. Mark didn't hop up and run to the other end of the lake.
No, he didn't.
It's a little small move there.
Coming up on another little break here in our Bassmaster live coverage, the second day, the fourth stop of the year for the Bassmaster Elite Series at Ross Barnett Reservoir. Catching them pretty good, catching them on top, Davey, just not as big as they were yesterday.
They're not as big as they were yesterday, but top water fishing is as fun as it gets. Fishing a Bassmaster Elite event, catch them on top. Brandon Card leading yesterday, a lot of adrenaline pumping there, and he caught them again this morning, just not the size we're looking for.
Hey, our next stop, we're going back, but we're talking about Toledo Bend. We're going back to that area, the Texas side, Lufkin, Texas, and Sam Rayburn Reservoir for the Toyota Bassmaster Texas Fest, benefiting Texas Parks and Wildlife. That's going to be the big one. That's that's the new, what we used to call Bass Fest, the big celebration in the middle of the season. That's coming up in 2 weeks, May 17th through 21st, right here, and we'll have Bassmaster Live for you.
Facts matter. All monofilament is not the same. Berkley is the strongest, smoothest, most dependable monofilament line in the world. Why would you risk your fishing trip to a line that's made who knows where just to save a buck? Berkley has been making and perfecting trilene in America for over 75 years. I spool nothing less than the best. That's Berkley trilene, and that is a fact.
Champions aren't born, they're created. Every turn of the prop, every mile on the lake, every cast of the rod, every fish they catch, and every pound they weigh. It builds who they are. It builds a legacy.
For your 2016 Bassmaster Angler of the Year!
Hey, how's everybody doing today? We are excited to get this season kicked off. It all starts here.
Barely hook, dude. Barely hook. Ooh, yes! Yeah! That's what I'm talking about! Stay down, stay down. Stay down, open your mouth, open your mouth. Yes! Thank you. Yeah! That's a big one. That's for you, Mama! How about that right there now? Woo! Ooh, yes! Yes! Yes!
Bassmaster Elite's second event for 2017 at legendary Lake Okeechobee. So much tradition here and so many amazing eye-popping results.
Yeah, buddy's right. Yes! Yes! Give me some high five on that. Yes. Let's get a closer look at that one. I never flipped a fish that big before, I don't think. Woo! Stay hooked. Yes. Yes! I'll start off with the biggest one. Good one.
It's 4 in a row. There he is. That's a good one.
Woo! That's what's this out here. Fat pre-spawners.
Yep. We getting it done today, boys.
Oh my God, yes. Boom, baby.
Boom, shakalaka, giant bass. Do you feel the big one? Do you feel it?
That's Toledo Bend Piglet.
The 2017 Bassmaster Elite Series Toledo Bend champion, John Murray.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one. Don't get in there. Got her in open water. Oh, give me some nuts. Come on now. Give it up.
Look at that one.
Yeah!
That's a Conroe beauty right there. That is a big one right there. Big one. Big one. Oh my God. Good 10 pounder. 10 pounder. That's a 10 pounder, bro. Oh my God. That's a 10 pounder. There we go. Yes, sir. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yes. How about it?
How about a big round of applause for Jordan Lee?
27 pounds, 4 ounces. Unbelievable! Your Geico Bassmaster Classic champion, Jordan Lee, 10 years ago, sat in those stands, and today he is a Geico Bassmaster Classic champion.
What is this meeting about again?
Fishing. Took my boat, boom, jumped over it, and I caught a giant. It was like a whale.
29 pounds, baby!
That's the last time I danced on stage.
Wow. Chief Fishing Officer.
How do I get that job?
I don't know.
Go to teamgtfishing.com to find out more about my real job.
Is there a place where the underwater images are the clearest you've ever seen? We're seeing every fish, we're seeing every detail of structure, and where every bottom contour was visible, where whatever you wanted to see below the surface was real. Do you want to go? Structure Scan 3D is the future of fishing. We can show you how to find fish faster and catch fish in a way you've never experienced. Let's get them.
Is this being in the moment? Is this hanging out? And is this really playing with your kid? Don't stop what you're doing to capture what you're doing. Keep running, keep playing, keep dancing. Just keep doing.
GoPro, start recording.
You're watching the Academy Sports and Outdoors Bassmaster Elite at Ross Barnett. Brought to you live by Lowrance.
Y'all have a 2 and a 1? I didn't know that.
Bassmaster Live.
No
Still
idea that
early
that
on the second day. The competition, Ross Barnett Reservoir, Dave Lefevre, Pennsylvania, the man who is moving up the leaderboard. 52 pounds and 4 ounces here total. With about a 2-pound lead against our guy who started the day with the lead, Brandon Card. Lintner moving up as well. A big move for him. Bobby Lane, Chad Morgan Taylor moving up big time. Keith Poche, Marc Davis trying to hang in there in the top 10. Tim Horton, Brent Chapman also among those making big jumps on day number 2. Dave Mercer, you heard him, predicted earlier we're going to see big time turnover, maybe more so than any event so far this year here at Ross Barnett. Of course, we had our own Mark Zona chime into that effect too. These post-spawn tournaments, always lots of turnover, lots of ups and downs before we finally get a winner, maybe with the last fish of the tournament. So we got a lot of fishing to cover before we are done with this, an all-important 4th stop of the year for the Bassmaster Elite Series. Back out to our leader to start the day, Brandon Card, live.
Still chucking the old top waters. I mean, there's still clouds in the sky. The wind's blowing now, so I think a little bit of chop would be good for this bite. I may have to go to my second area sooner than I had hoped. Yesterday, I didn't get in my second area until later on, like around 1. And that's where I caught my biggest fish of the day at 512. So there's definitely good fish in that area as well.
About 5 years ago, Brandon Card came out here as a freshly graduated college kid from Kentucky, from the Carhartt Bassmaster College Series, first college angler to qualify back in 2011. Actually, that's been 6 years ago. Time flies, especially when you're that young, I guess. He was the Rookie of the Year. The next year, had a good finish to his year up on Oneida, I believe it was, up in Syracuse. It really locked down that Rookie of the Year title there. 2 classic appearances, including last year and back in 2013, and of course that big second place at Lake Texoma. Did some last-minute heroics, almost trying to run down Greg Hackney on that final day. That's a tall ask. That's a big order for someone to do. Brandon Card, but looking to be the first college angler, Bassmaster College Series, to come out here and win an Elite Series event.
We've been talking about a lot of college Carhartt anglers this year.
Man, Jordan Lee with going to be the first classic college winner. Can Brandon do it and beat Jordan to the first Elite Series win?
Card almost did it last year. He had a 10-pound day 2 that really killed him. He had 21-2 on the last day to pull within 2 pounds of topping Hackney.
These 4-day events, you've got to catch them every day. You really do. But interesting note earlier that it wasn't so devastating to Brandon Card to finish second in that event. It gave him the confidence that, hey, I almost did this. I came real close. It gives you the confidence that I can actually win one of these.
Can get the job done.
And don't look now, but another young angler did well yesterday. Dustin Canal, rookie. He's also a college alum. He went to the University of Alabama.
Alabama, right.
He was in 6th yesterday, 19-12.
Dustin Canal got a little bit of an assist anyway at the first stop of the year, right?
Helping out
Do
Jacob
we count
Wheeler,
assists on a rec? No, they don't help you get to the Classic.
No.
No, but they might pay off later when he needs help.
It's like helping someone on the side of the highway with a flat tire, Tommy.
That's right.
It always comes back to you, in my opinion. But
they'll wave at you when they pass you in the same situation.
I'll give them a ride to the tire store, but I won't let them drive my car, almost like Jacob Wheeler did with Dustin.
Right. That's probably a
Hop
good
on
plan.
in, and I'll let you drive my car to the gas station and get your tire repaired.
Yeah, that was above and beyond. Take a look at Bassmaster Elite Series Rookie of the Year points so far this year. Going to be Jesse Wiggins from that aforementioned Cherokee Lake Bass Tournament up in Tennessee where we started the year. Jesse Wiggins has been pretty solid ever since then. Dustin Canal right there. We mentioned him from Alabama. Moving into second place. Marc Daniels, another guy to watch.
Every year we say, look at this rookie field that we have. But every year is true. It's just loaded with some really, really good fishermen.
Kind of surprising to see Jamie Hartman not any higher than he is there.
I was going to say there's not too many shakeups in the Rookie of the Year standings after day 1 except for Hartman falling 2 spots because Daniels had over 14 pounds, Connell almost had 20, but Hartman wasn't that bad. He was on the bad side of that big cluster of boats. You know, he was 10 pounds or so.
10 even 17th place, yeah.
Yeah, he gets 13 pounds or something. He'll be right in the middle of that big pack.
Those Rookie of the Year standings change every single day. It's important to talk about them every day, along with the LY. It gets more attention at the end of the season, but the first event, the fourth event, the last event, every single day is so important. And if you're one of the guys that had a tough day yesterday, today's cut day.
Yeah, absolutely. You can right the ship today.
You can right the ship, but boy, you can really sink the ship too because this lake really fished well yesterday for some guys, but there's some really, really good fishermen that struggled here yesterday, and some of the guys that have good history here. We talked about Rick Clunn winning here before, Randall Tharp, some folks that have won here, and all these places change from year to year. You see us go back to the same venue, even though we haven't been here in an Elite Series, but places like Toledo Bend that you go back to, they change every single year. Just because a guy won at a body of water, a reservoir, a few years ago doesn't mean that he's going to have it figured out when he go back the next time. Brandon Card, when I was talking to him yesterday, he came here and pre-fished 6 weeks ago, and he did his homework and fished some areas that the guys caught him really good in that Central Open last year, and he said the fishing was phenomenal, but those fish were there then, and because of the mild winter and a little later along in the spawning process, post-spawn more, that he went to those areas in practice and couldn't do very well at all. So just because these guys haven't caught big fish this morning like they did yesterday, they didn't catch them all. Yeah. They're just being a little stubborn this morning.
Catch a big one now is these slips, because there ain't nobody fishing those. It's got to slow down and. Thank you.
This idle, going idle back up over this way. Make one more pass through it. See what can happen.
Oh, dang it.
Like I said, I'd love to have a limit for a lead, but I mean, I should have enough for the cut. That's, you know, that's the worst case scenario. Just get us fishing on Saturday. That's what it's all about. You know, I'd love to make it a championship Sunday, but, you know, I can only do what I can do. We're going to give them hell.
Hopefully it's not on Best Life. Huh?
Hopefully.
Are you kidding me?
Not only that, Brandon, we have to explain now why you were able to do that. What's the rule on that, Davey?
Well, a few years ago, the rules were changed. For most of my career, you could not leave the boat to retrieve a lure, because some folks thought, well, you can't leave the boat to fish and you're still fishing. But I was in the meeting when Trip Weldon was talking to different anglers. When you can physically see your bait out of the water, you can lead a boat to retrieve it. And it's just common sense. You're not going to catch one with the bait 2 feet out of the water, or at least I never have, and I've never seen it on Bass Live. But you don't want to leave a lure hanging on a boat dock for some kid or something to get hung up in, those travel hooks, that sort of thing. So it's a sensible rule, but a rule that for most of my career, you could not leave the boat to retrieve a bait. And I think it's a good change in the rule to be able to let you go retrieve. And Brandon was saying, I hope that's not on Bass Live. Yeah, we saw you, but
just assume it's on Bass Live all week long.
When you're the leader.
When you're the leader, for sure.
Well, and another addition to that rule, Davey, is if you're fishing a laydown and you get stuck in a tree, like up in the tree, you don't have to go get it immediately. You can put your rod down as long as it's out of the water, and they can pick up another bait and cast and, try to catch a fish, and then they have to go retrieve it later. But yeah.
But he couldn't run down that dock, get his lure, and then he sees one across the way and drop on it. He's got to be back in his boat before he starts fishing again.
Until he gets back in the boat to resume, what is that, normal fishing operation, Davey? That's the terms.
And that's why we have marshals. That marshal is there to verify, hey, the lure was hung up on the boat dock. He retrieved it, he got back in the boat before we made another cast. If you don't have Bass Live in your boat.
That's right, yeah, we're all the marshals in this case.
We are.
Everybody watching. And we appreciate everyone who's watching with us this morning. We've had a treat for pictures. We get to see every cast today.
I'll be really surprised if we don't see Bobby Lane catch a big one. He's changed up from what he was doing this morning. The sun's out a little more, and he's flipping under this matted vegetation where it's a lot thicker than those scattered pads that he and Keith Poche, Marc Davis are fishing out on these humps and ridges just outside of the hard line.
A little bit of breeze starting to get rolling here. Supposed to be more insistent as we go throughout the morning and especially into the afternoon.
I haven't seen any bait flicker much either. Seen a lot more yesterday.
Hear Keith Poche talking about the things he's not seeing today that he saw yesterday. The shad flickering around, moving. The demons in his head are starting to say you need to go somewhere else. But then you also need to think about the winds starting to blow a little bit. It could happen here. It's just the dilemma that you have to deal with.
Here's a should have been here on day one stat. Robert Brandon's looking at Bass Track from 7:15 to 8:15. Yesterday we had 120 fish catches. Today only 83. Poche had 17. Now we got Dave Lefevre with 14. It was a little bit slower today.
Even if the fishing is slower, it's really interesting and educational to watch these guys and how they deal with it, whether they move or not, and how they adjust if they don't move far, the different rods that they pick up. Bobby Lane looks like he moved about 100 yards. He's doing something totally different. Marc Davis, we saw him idle a few hundred yards. Keith Poche is sticking with his gun so far this morning.
Brandon Card pretty much sticking with his guns as well. I'm like you, I'm shocked to not see any other anglers in there.
Yep, it's really
arena
surprising.
that size.
I just assumed that he was fishing around a cluster of boats like the other guys.
Suit, you mentioned it this morning, right? Bears mentioning again. Getting some questions. How do people get their
Bass
questions?
Live, and there was a question, where's Zona?
Where's Zona? Tell him.
Oh, we've done that. He's at the NFL draft wearing a Trubinsky jersey with the Bears got him number 2 pick, moved up to grab them a quarterback. He's probably pretty happy with that.
They got hosed on that deal. Just saying. If you didn't watch the draft, they gave up like 3 or 4 picks just to move one spot to get a quarterback when they already signed a quarterback in the offseason. Bears logic.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
We'll get the full story on that if we can get Zona on the phone from the draft.
I think I just got a bad, mean text from him hating on the Bears.
He's been doing that with some regularity the past 3 months now. Who got the Clemson QB? Who got him?
Houston.
That's right.
They
Houston
traded up 13 spots and ended up snagging him.
I think that's a good move for them.
Yeah, very good move. Cleveland didn't get a quarterback, but they had 3 great players, 2 defensive players that can really help.
All right, Dave, we've got a question from David Phoenix real quick. Since he's asking if the spawn is over on Ross Barnett, why are we not seeing guys fishing offshore for the post-spawn fish?
That's a great question. There's still some shad that are in these shallow water areas, and these fish seem to be really in between. There's a few fish offshore. They had a lot of wind blowing in practice that made it hard to fish offshore. But keep in mind, when we say offshore, the average depth, 8 feet.
Yeah.
We're not at Toledo Bend. We're not at Toledo Bend. So really and truly where Keith Poche and Marc Davis are fishing, not Mark at this point, but they are offshore. Bobby Lane, you see there in the picture, he's up against, even though that's not, it's hard line vegetation. It's not the dry land, the bank like you'll be able to see in some reservoirs. But these guys, Keith Poche and Marc Davis both, there's ditches, Keith and Mark both told me there's a 15-foot ditch just right behind where they're fishing. They're fishing up in this shallower water. The stained water, the dirty water, these fish have moved offshore, so to speak, even though, like I said, we're not at Toledo Bend, we're not at Sam Rayburn. We're not at a body of water where those fish get out on these 20 and 30-foot ledges.
Why don't we, for the first time on this first day of coverage on Bassmaster Live here from Ross Barnett, engage in a little bit of Dick Cepek Tires and Wheels Bassmaster Elite Series trivia. Here's a good one. The Mississippi State largemouth record of 18, almost 19 pounds was caught on which holiday?
Time of year.
You think we'll be guessing?
Wow.
I think we'll be guessing on this. Was it Christmas Day?
Are we supposed to know this?
New Year's Eve? Yeah, we're supposed to know this. Valentine's Day.
You guys got them all last time, so
if you know anything about bass fishing, you know the answer to that. If not, take your best guess. And we'll be back after a short 2.5-minute break and uncrack this mystery for you. Uncrack? I don't think that's a word.
The Academy Sports and Outdoors Bassmaster Elite at Ross Barnett is brought to you by Shell Rotella, Yamaha, Triton Boats, Toyota, Power Pole, and by Skeeter Boats.
Man, it's slow today. Yep.
Mom, I caught a fish. Good job, sweetie.
Hey, what kind of lure is that?
It's a Livingston. They have electronic bait fish sounds that activate as soon as they hit the water. Easiest way to catch a fish.
Hey, thanks.
If you love bass fishing, then show your support by joining B.A.S.S. today. Since 1968, B.A.S.S. has been serving bass fishing enthusiasts with information and tournament coverage that make you a better angler. When you sign up today, you'll join over 500,000 outdoorsmen who love bass fishing. With your membership, you'll receive every issue of Bassmaster magazine, plus $50 in free gear, including a membership tackle bag, BASS cap, plus more. Log on to Bassmaster.com to join Bass today.
Whether you're trying to figure out how to replace your rotors, change your oil, or install a new air filter, we know you've got a lot to think about. That's why we made our Speed Perks rewards so easy. Spend $100, get $20 off your next purchase. No cards, no points, no nonsense, no thinking. Save that for the important stuff, like figuring out your anniversary. Advance Auto Parts. Let's get you back on the road.
You're watching the Academy Sports and Outdoors Bassmaster Elite at Ross Barnett. Brought to you live by Lowrance.
Dick Peck Tires and Wheels Bassmaster Elite Series Trivia. We left you with this somewhat strange question from the Such, no doubt. The Mississippi State largemouth record, almost 19 pounds, was caught on which holiday? It's got to be Christmas, right?
I'm putting a little logic to this.
Okay.
The fish should be at its biggest size in Mississippi mid-February. I'm going to go with C.
Okay. All right.
I was going with D.
Right there.
I was going with D.
St. Patrick's Day?
Oh, none of us.
That's
Year's Eve.
the rub. New Year's Eve.
Now that is surprising.
That is.
That's
that is
why
really
I thought it was a
strange.
good question, but
From Natchez
hard
State
to guess.
Park.
If
What
they
a
had waited
good
2 months to catch it, it would have weighed more.
That's right. Anthony,
take
note.
baby.
Yeah, write
Should
that
have sent
down,
the hook
Anthony.
2 months later.
Next time you go trying to invade Natchez State Park and catching a big one, you might want to wait a little while.
Like I'm an authority on catching 18-pounders.
Well, we struck out on that one. Maybe we'll do better on the next Dick Peck Tires and Wheels Trivia, but
It's too hard for us country boys to pronounce.
let's go to Brandon Card right now, find out what he was trying to pronounce. Maybe get a few clues as to what's going on. There's that marina he's been working on pretty much all day today.
He stayed there tight this morning. It had a lot of bites, just not the right size. I still can't believe he doesn't have some company there.
Well, here we go.
Davey, on my bass track, there's a couple guys been in and out of there, but maybe we just haven't been close enough or around the corner to see them. But not. I mean, early there was 7 or 8 guys. Now there's like 3.
Okay, thanks for that.
That was moments ago from Brandon Card, which we had some. See if that one's going to keep for him. Again, we got a 14-inch limit for these largemouth bass and Ross Barnett.
David,
Let's drop them on there real quick.
we just had a question from a viewer. Obviously, Topwater's working for Brandon Card, but fishing all these docks, we haven't seen him skip any like stick baits or anything else, and they were wondering why he hasn't tried that yet.
He's done that a little, and he caught that fish on a vibrating jig. I was curious why he hadn't tried a few baits, different baits, but obviously he had a lot of success on the top order yesterday.
Next call, might as well go ahead and knock that out.
You think that low light is helping him stay with that top water a little longer than maybe he normally would? You know, the sun hadn't really positioned him underneath those docks.
Well, that, and there's just so much shade there. It's just little small windows of light going between those boat houses and those docks.
Here's my next coal. All right, man. Broke the dry spell. Picked up the old chatterbait with a Zaco trailer. Actually, it's a jackhammer. But the little Yamamoto Zaco trailer, just like Brett Hite. If it's good enough for B. Hite, it's good enough for me.
Did you say the trailer looked like Brett Hite?
Yeah, I think like he uses, maybe he was saying.
Yeah, I think so.
Just out there on that corner. No, he wasn't on a cable.
Picked up a few ounces in that upgrade right now. Brandon Card, who'd fallen about 2 pounds behind Dave Lefevre, having the best morning of all of our players, or sort of co-best morning with Tim Horton.
The other good thing about him switching to this vibrating jig with that trailer, you can skip that bait a lot better and get it farther back in these slips. But because the shade provides an ambush point for these fish.
Jumping ropes with treble hooks.
Those fish, if they're even remotely in a feeding mode, they're going to get right at the edge of that shade line. There's no cover under the water, but they'll use that shade line just like a
living life on
line.
the edge. I've been skydiving, bungee jumping. We were going to go. I actually have done a lot of spelunking, but we were going to go. My wife was going to take me hang gliding for my birthday. This is a couple years ago, and we were the next in line, and the guy right in front of us crashed. And so I ran out there. He crashed right in the field, and I ran out there, and he was. I mean, thankfully nobody was like, horribly hurt, but he broke some bones and jacked up his face. So needless to say, that pretty much ended my hang gliding experience. But I'll give my wife props. That was a pretty sweet birthday present. It was going to be anyways. Until some idiot had to crash and ruin the party for everybody.
Now, don't we have some footage of Brandon Card on one of those wingsuits, jumping off a cliff and flying out through? I challenge the guys in the truck to find that. While they're doing that, well, let's check in with Steve Bowman. Triton on the line. We were wondering where you were, Steve Bowman.
I saw Bowman. I recognize his boat. He's not far away from Bobby Lane, I think.
You've been there all day, Steve?
Been here most of the morning. Yeah, I didn't get here in time to see his 2 fish catches, but I've been on him ever since then, I guess. And it's kind of it's really kind of an interesting place up here. This is as fishy a looking daggum place as we've been in all year long, and but I'm not seeing anybody catch them. I mean, this is a grind for these guys, I think.
So how many boats are you looking at there in a 200 or 300 yard stretch?
If I was going, probably at least, I see Hackney over there. Gary Scroggins, now he's moved about 100 yards away. Hackney's about 150, and then there's heads bobbing out around there's just a lot of little islands and stuff, and you just see pieces and parts of them. I don't know who they are. Saw Skeet earlier, Marty Robinson, Brandon Palaniuk, Michael Frazier. I mean, it's pretty much, when we were putting in at the bridge, it was a steady stream. It looked like the whole field had ran up here. So there's quite a few boats. I mean, and it's a big area, but it's not that big. I mean, they're having a chance to converse. You know what that's like, Davey. I mean, some parts of it this morning look like Lake George at St. John's. Fishing these big grass flats, got a bunch of scattered lily pads on them and different islands of water and lily, and I mean, there's all kinds of grass that some of it I don't even know. It's and in between them, there's really a healthy population of big alligators up here, and they've been roaring and doing their mating dance and everything else this morning. It's been a cool day on the water. Just not a lot of fish catching. I think that the fish catching here is it's that post-spawn kind of day where they're having to hunt and peck and run across and hope they hit. And when somebody else's timing is off, their timing is right. So it's just not one of these events where they're just coming in here and just stroking them.
You've seen hundreds of these events, Steve Bowman. When you get into these really full-on post-spawn type situations here, who are the guys who tend to prevail? Who tends to be the last man standing at the end? Somebody that sticks with their guns, or somebody who's resourceful and uses all 9, 10, 12 rods on the deck?
Well, that varies some, but a lot of times it's the guys who kind of grew up in those tough states where the fishing was tough, where this is a standard operating procedure for them. They do this. They've done this. The guys that just put their head down. It's really this game. This game today becomes more about your mental toughness more than what you know. It's almost been stubborn to me because you can't hit any place at this time of the day that hasn't already been hit. So now you just got to put your nose down and say, I'm going to catch them when they're not. I've got confidence in the bait that I'm throwing, or I've got confidence in the size line that I'm in. Whatever that is, or how I'm making the cast, or what have you. And the neat thing about these events is we always seem to find out. We learn some tricks of the trade that we don't typically learn in those just smash down. Somebody pulls up on a ledge like Van Dam and throws a 5XD. You really don't get to look, because it's every cast. But here, start learning what these guys are doing to get that extra little bite, get that extra little advantage that they need, whether it's boat control or whatever. And those are very useful for the majority of the bass fishermen in the world, as opposed to the guys who live on those lakes where it's just every cast. Because it looks like every cast here, you know that it's not, and you got to learn how to fight through all this stuff, and we're going to get to see that firsthand in this event. I like these events as much as I do the every cast events.
We've been talking about the value of preparation. Some of these events, especially during the course. How do you prepare for an event like this? I mean, how do you practice? How do you plot a strategy when it's this tough and this different from the rest of the situations you've been in all year?
I'm not sure that I think that the physical part of it is the same. You're trying to find the areas where you get the most bite and stick to those. You're trying to find that the places within the area that give you the extra clues, and outside of that, you just mentally go to bed at night and say, I just got to catch 5 tomorrow. I just got to catch 5. Where if they're on Toledo Bend, they got to catch 25. So having, as Davey will tell you, the toughest fish in a tough tournament to catch is number 1 and number 5. If you're mentally prepared for that, then that becomes a lot easier, as opposed to going to Kentucky Lake and only catching 5. That's when when you're only catching a few bites over there, and you think you ought to be catching 20. But when you mentally prepare yourself, and the physical part of it comes with that, because you're like, I've got to go out here and make all of these casts to weed out this one bite at a time, and not go out here and just whack on, make sure I check my line each time, make sure the hooks are sharp and everything else. You're still doing all that stuff, but you're you're more keyed into that. Where's that next little bite come from? Rather than you know where it's coming from on some of these other lakes. You just got to keep hunting and pecking, and hunting and pecking part of it is what drives so many people in the first place. That's some of the fun part. Now the pressure is on for these guys who've got to do that and make money at it.
Bowman, I got a quick question for you. We're watching Bobby Lane. I don't know if you can see this, but he's hitting a lot of stumps as he's moving around with his trolling motor. Do you see any of these fishermen just focusing on the stumps and not the vegetation?
No, everything is thrown at the green. Those stumps that he just hit, that you just saw hit, they're blind, and you really can't see them. The watercolor doesn't allow you to see them until you're right on top of them. And I guess the water level, we got hung up on a couple of them ourselves, hitting with a trolling motor, and it's just like, that's the number one sin in a camera boat. You don't touch the wood cover, with your trolling motor. But these guys are knocking around out here, but most of them are all in the grass, and I think that's partly because of the shad spawn, or idea that the fish are still probably the fry and things are probably more grass related than the rest of it.
We're watching some footage of Bobby Lane hitting one of those stumps. It's really, really reminiscent of guys fishing the backwaters of the Red River there near Shreveport. It's like a bad surfing competition there or something.
It is. I mean, you all of a sudden really realize that Bobby Lane would never make it in Dancing with the Stars because he has no. I mean, I thought he was going in there when we were talking earlier and he hit that. I was like, oh boy, my camera's laying in my lap instead of up on him. So.
He came very close to doing a front flip right there. I'd say he's pretty good on his feet to keep from going in.
Yeah, I guess I'd have to say because you hit those things, they hit pretty hard. You know that, Davey.
Yep. I willingly did a backflip off of a boat on live. He almost did a front flip unwillingly.
It wasn't compliant with that. Now, we talked about some of the guys have mentioned, and some of the riders have mentioned a stronger period at the end of the day. Did you observe that yesterday? And how much of the end of the day was the fish catching happening?
Well, and that's all relative. I mean, the first part of the day here is pretty much standard fare for just about any lake. After that, it turns off, and then we did see the guys like Stephen Browning, for instance, caught a fish that put him in the top 15 with just minutes left. You're going to see that all week. I mean, this is one of those tournaments that every 8-hour day, every minute of that 8-hour day counts, every second counts, and we saw a decided dead period from I would say 8:30 to almost to the end of the day, and then we started seeing a few picks. I've got Getty's Brandon Hope putting together some of that catchphrase so we can kind of graph that out. And I don't know what causes that. I don't know, because today's a total different day than yesterday. Yesterday was as nasty a day as you can be on the water, as far as just drizzly rain, gray, just cold, windy. Today it's warmer. The sun's peeking through. It may change the bite and make it happen sooner than what it did yesterday. We started getting this weather late in the day, during the weigh-in, actually. So, it may pick up some because of the sun. And in these shallow water environments where you've got stained water and lots of vegetation, the sun is a critical factor in catch rate. So, whether that's good or bad, but I think it'll be good in this instance. And so it may change the complexion to where we start seeing a little bit more catches in the middle part of the day.
Right now, as we stand, Steve Bowman, 40th place is about half the poundage of first place right now. How much hope does that 40th place guy have by the time it's all said and done?
He's one bite away. That's the thing. He's one bite away. I mean, and it's going to be decided. I mean, there's going to be, if you look at the standings from yesterday, 49th was a tie, 50th or 51st was a tie. Everybody's trying to get to 51 today. And there's going to be a lot of guys who are sitting there that, if not the whole field, it's going to be one fish out that didn't make the cut. They're going to be one fish away from that. And when you start looking at how many guys are one fish away from making that check, then you realize how tight this fishery is going to fish by the end of the thing. One fish from making a check in any tournament is heartbreaking. Typically, you have 3 or 4 guys who really had that shot, and that translates to the leaderboard. When you go to the end of the day and you got 12 guys out there, then all of a sudden you're like, you look at and it's one fish difference between 12th and 1st. Then you got a situation where all 12 can win, as opposed to some of our events where we have 3 or 4 leaders who, they just really got to mess up for anybody to catch them. And everybody else has got to have just one heck of a day. But when you get a situation where it's one fish, then that one fish can come at any time and any place for anybody and totally change the complexion. I'm sure there's guys like Brandon Card and Bobby Lane and Marc Davis, those guys that really like to distance themselves today, but I don't see it happening.
I don't think it's too early to call, Davey. Obviously, places aren't replenishing like we see it in other stops on the series. Places like, say Mississippi River, other shallow water venues like that. I mean, is it just a matter of fishing new water every hour of every day?
Well, I think it. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dave.
Go ahead, Bowman. I want your thoughts on that.
I think that these guys have. I mean, I have not seen anybody stop. Everything is in constant movement, and they're just all these moving pieces and parts going around and hitting the same stuff. I think that what they're putting their referendum on is the bait they're throwing and the cast they're making, and the timing that they're using. And then outside of that, I mean, they got this. I'm a long way. I'm a half a mile from the river channel, so everything from where Bobby Lane is now to a half mile out to the river channel is virtually the same depth, and it looks the same. Now, I don't know about the bottom being hard or soft, because I'm not been able to throw anything to kind of figure out where maybe some hard spots are, or mussel beds or that kind of thing. But I mean, it's like, I don't know, Davey, these fish, there's not a clear line. Like if you were to go into a point or into a pocket, you got a point coming out, and then you got a series of secondary points. That's not what this is. It's just a big do nothing flat with a bunch of little pods of grass here and there, and that kind of. So there's not a clear line of how would that fish get from here to there. And the big question for me is, do they live here, or do they just come up here and feed? And I don't know enough about Ross Barnett to know if here or not, or they come up in here to spawn, protect the fry, then they move out, and then they come and go. I wish we were still doing the radio tracking on fish to know, catch one in the back of one of these things, put a tracker on it, and see if it goes back out to the river, or how it moves around in here, because the wind can shift everything, blow things around. There's a lot of reasons for the fish not to be where it was yesterday.
All right, Steve, thank you so much, man. Good stuff. And we got a request here. If you can figure out where Dave Lefevre is, we'd be interested to know. If you even heard a rumor of where he's fishing right now, he's our current leader. And if you hear anything on that, let us know.
Okay,
go ahead. Okay, I guess we lost Steve Bowman. Yeah, like to figure out where Dave Lefevre is. You can see in our unofficial scoreboard there, he's got the lead still over Brandon Card. Still tight, and long way from declaring anybody to be dominant on this second day. It's still up for grabs. Jared Lintner, Daryl Okamika, the Idaho angler, moving up in there in the top four now. A rookie looking to make some rookie noise out there today. This is a place to do it.
Started the day in 26th, so putting his name in the hat, maybe trying to make his second Elite Series cut, and then also, maybe trying to get to the final day. It's way early, but it's a good start for day two.
A lot of moving and shaking. I just scrolled down through all the way to 109th place, and there's some guys that are really climbing and some guys that are really falling in a hurry. And in today's cut day, it's going to be huge. You can't win Angler Year today, but there's some guys that, oh geez, the Classic, it's such an important tournament. These tight tournaments like this, they're the ones that the cream will really rise to the top. Steve Bowman brought up a couple of things that I think are interesting. I've never fished Ross Barnett, but a lot of times, and we got a question on, is it hashtag Bassmaster Live? Suit?
Bass Live.
Bass Live.
Bass Live.
Bass Live. Hashtag Bass Live about fish moving offshore. There's a couple factors on lakes like this. Water quality is one of them. And you're going to have better water quality around the vegetation. So these fish are going to want to stay in the better water quality around this vegetation.
It's different.
More so than move offshore where the water quality isn't as good. And as long as there's some shad there, something for those fish to feed on, then they're going to stay in that area longer than they would on a body of water where you might have a hydrilla line. Sam Rabin we're going to. Those fish move out to 20 feet and they've got great water quality, great vegetation, great cover. The other thing that and like I said, I've never fished Ross Barnett, but you can't discount the fact it's a small lake close to a big city, and it gets a lot of pressure. And these fish see a lot of baits. They've been caught numerous times, these bigger fish. I don't think so many of these fish leave. Is they just, if they're not in just the perfect feeding mode, it's hard to get one of them to bite. And this morning when we saw those fish hitting at these topwater baits, nudging them, not even trying to feed on them, that told me that we were probably going to look at some times where it was going to be lulls in these guys catching some fish. Now I definitely believe that we will see some big fish caught before the day ends, but you're looking at Marc Davis, Bobby Lane, Brandon Card. He was the leader from yesterday. Those guys are sticking to their guns to the one area. They've had 3 days of practice here. You can't just run around and stop at another place that looks similar and catch them. They're just only small areas that these fish really seem to be living in right now.
You mentioned guys coming up and down. There's guys not on the bass track at all. Ish Monroe in the blog has caught his limit in his culling. He's not showing up at all.
Ah, okay.
And Alton Jones just caught his first fish.
Who, Alton Jones?
Yeah, Alton.
Was that Zona's pick?
I believe it was.
Just saying.
It was.
That's who I picked first. And they said, well, Zona's already got him. I said, okay, give me Marc Davis.
Now you're glad you did, right?
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
Still young.
Still young.
That's all you need. How big do you want it? Like four? But maybe, I mean, worst case, a 4-pounder? You could like zoom in on it and make it look bigger than. All right.
I don't think I'll ever be able to look at Brandon Card again and not think about him jumping off cliffs and was next in line when a guy crashed and messed up his birthday.
By the way, had a similar
not as bad
experience.
as the other guy who crashed.
Yeah.
Say this is the #1 recreational lake in the state. I don't know if I'd be wanting to go out there swimming with those big gators we've seen.
They have got some gators out there now.
Too stressful.
I had a buddy message me during practice saying, I've seen more gators and mudfish and non-bass than I've seen bass from these elite pros posting. Everybody was posting all the gators and stuff.
Well, there's a reason for that.
You don't
all
wanna
those
give
guys don't take pictures of their big bass in practice because they don't want the competitors to know.
Well, the funny thing is that if they did take a picture of their biggest fish, there'd probably be 18 boats in the background, and everybody would see them holding up the fish to take a photo of.
That's certainly part of it. Yep. That's what I meant. Not only seeing the picture, but seeing them take the picture. It's a good point.
We saw Bobby Lane's Eagle Eyes this morning picking out everybody catching fish around him.
The hang gliding story, I still can't get over that.
Oh, I can't either. By the way, if my wife is listening, I don't want that for my birthday present.
That's right. Yeah, not hats off to his wife for giving him that.
I'm going to be very suspicious if that's the present that I get. Hey, we got this new hang gliding company.
Oh. Still a long way to go. We heard Brandon Card say 3:20. That's when I got to check in. That's when they'll wrap it up there on Ross Barnett. 3:20 Central Time today. Following that, we'll have our weigh-in for you on Bassmaster.com. It'll start at 4:15 Eastern Time. In Old Trace Park in Ridgeland, Mississippi, our host city. Ross Barnett Reservoir, our playing field here in South Central Mississippi. 4th stop of the year for the Bassmaster Elite Series. Big, important weigh-in today. Going to take it from 109 to 51 anglers who will fish on the final.
Facts matter. All monofilament is not the same. Berkley is the strongest, smoothest, most dependable monofilament line in the world. Why would you risk your fishing trip to a line that's made who knows where just to save a buck? Berkley has been making and perfecting trilene in America for over 75 years. I spool nothing less than the best. That's Berkley trilene, and that is a fact.
Champions aren't born, they're created. Every turn of the prop, Every mile on the lake, every cast of the rod, every fish they catch, and every pound they weigh. It builds who they are. It builds a legacy.
Now for your 2016 Bassmaster Angler of the Year.
Hey, thanks, Dave. Out of office? Oh, man.
Hi, this is Skeet.
Out of office?
Dude, don't be mad because I thought of it.
What?
I gotta go. I got someone on the line. Go to teamgtfishing.com to check out my real job.
We're supposed to be working.
I am working.
Is there a place where the underwater images are the clearest you've ever seen? We're seeing every fish, we're seeing every detail of structure, and where every bottom contour was visible, where whatever you wanted to see below the surface was real. Do you want to go? Structure Scan 3D is the future of fishing. We can show you how to find fish faster and catch fish in a way you've never experienced. Let's get them.
Is this being in the moment? Is this hanging out? And is this really playing with your kid? Don't stop what you're doing to capture what you're doing. Keep running, keep playing, keep dancing. Just keep doing.
GoPro, start recording.
You're watching the Academy Sports and Outdoors Bassmaster Elite at Ross Barnett. Brought to you live by Lowrance.
This is the fourth stop of the year for the Bassmaster Elite Series. Coming up in 2 weeks, Toyota Bassmaster Texas Fest, benefiting Texas Parks and Wildlife. That's our big mid-season sort of major tournament there. It's a big, big event. Lots of action going on around the host city of Lufkin, Texas, and of course, great, one of the classic lakes of all time, Sam Rayburn, even though there's never been a classic there. But it's a big-time lake, and we will have a big-time tournament. That's in 2 weeks. Plenty of Bassmaster Live coverage for you there. Back out to Brandon Card.
Surely I can get in this one. Yeah.
It's like he's throwing a vibrating jig.
Mm-hmm.
Hooked up.
They're all twins today. Man, how dark is that fish? Looks like we're in Florida. I don't even know if he'll help.
That fish has been living in the shade. Be so dark.
Noticed a lot of those at the weigh-in yesterday, really black backs.
Either vegetation or shade. I think in this area it's more those just living under those boat docks, those houseboats. Got that dark color if they're in the good vegetation, good clear water also.
I don't think he'll help.
He said number 3 is going to be his next cull. I don't think
he did a little bit.
I don't think he's hit it. So that one won't help.
No.
It did help. Okay.
Oh, it did? Okay. Helped him just a couple ounces, but hey, like Zona reminded us this morning, these tournaments are the ones that come down to just literally ounces, and you never know. When you think a fish didn't help you a lot, it could mean winning or finishing second for sure.
Good point.
Do what? All right, sweet man. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Thomas.
Getting ready to leave.
Now we can start.
I know. What's the deal with these little ones?
He told you this morning. Didn't want to see them pictures of the bait. Now you're gone. Oh.
Woo! All right, man. Appreciate it.
Brandon Card about to make a move by his own declaration there as we take a look at the rest of our raffle of 4 live out there, plus 2 down at the bottom.
Keith Poche has moved, obviously.
He has.
Look at that watercolor.
Wow.
Before we get off of Brandon, I have to tell my hang gliding story, okay?
Oh, come on.
A few years out of college, these guys were up in a bean field up near Morrilton, Arkansas. They had a Jeep, and they would have had a rope on it. They put a parachute on you. Take off with that Jeep, and you'd run behind, and then they'd speed it up, and you'd go up. And so we all said, well, that sounds great. We'll all go up and do that. So we're up there. We're waiting in line to do this. Okay. First car pulls up. The guy's got an insurance company sticker on the side of it. Thought, what, is he going to come sell us insurance? And my buddy says, no, I bet he's here to find out whether we're insured by his company or not, so he can tell us not. And that's exactly what it was. He was there to make sure we weren't insured by his company if we were going to do something like that. As if that wasn't enough, the next car that pulled up, a minister from a nearby fundamentalist church who came to make sure that we were right. We were squared away on our relationship with the Almighty before we did. So we gave up right there. We got in the car and went back home. That's a true story.
You see all those blooper videos of the people getting dragged over boats on the ocean or the sand or the dock. Oh my gosh!
You got to be crazy.
My sister saw one of those happen. They said, "No, we're getting out of this line."
Making sure you were insured for the next life.
Yeah. One was trying to yank his insurance, and one was trying to sell us some.
Wow. Smart move, I'd say.
Yeah.
So, what time is it? 9:39. Even Keith Poche and Marc Davis, where they both caught 20-pound bags yesterday, have abandoned. Let's see what happens.
That's an empty spot there now.
Oh, okay. Let's go. Let's go, let's go. Time to make a move.
He's making a big move. He's
my gosh,
putting the socks on the rods that he's used and
suiting up
pulling out some different ones.
Okay.
Said he made a big change in the afternoon yesterday and caught his biggest fish.
He did say that. You're right.
Be interesting to see where he goes.
I think he caught a 5-pounder at like 3 o'clock or 2:30, like within an hour before he had to be back.
What we need to bring you right now is our Hummingbird lay of the lake. To do that, why don't we just turn it over to Big Fish Bobby Lane? How would that be? Oh, Bobby. I'm insisting that Bobby give us the lay of the lake.
Well, you know, I don't have a lot of history on this lake, but the little time that I've been here this week, it's just an amazing shallow water fishery is what it is. I mean, it's muddy, but it just has tons and tons of cover. I mean, as you can see in front of me, it just looks like a giant minefield of grass. And You know, down by the dam, or the takeoff, I consider the dam. A lot of riprap down there, a lot of deeper water. You can run anywhere you want. When you get up towards this end of the lake, and on the right side, for the most part, is where most of the fishing takes place. Everything on the other side of the lake it's really, there's nothing there to fish. It's just really a bank. The road runs all the way around it. So it's a phenomenal shallow water, muddy fishery is what it is. And these fish are used to the mud. So, you know, you just flip darker baits and you really just have to slow down. You don't get a lot of bites in this body of water, but when you do get a bite, it's a pretty good one. So you have to keep your patience, and you need to be somewhere between 1 foot and 3 foot of water, realistically, if you want to catch fish on Ross Barnett, and you know, have confidence in what you're throwing. You know, I started with a swim jig this morning. I caught a nice one on it, and then I caught a keeper, and now I'm doing what I love, and I'm flipping. I'm in dirtier water now. I'm on this side of the bridge. It doesn't have as many boats, and I got tons of cover, and there's no telling where your next bite's gonna come from. So if you come to Ross Barnett, bring some heavy spider wires, 50, 65 pound braid, and your flipping sticks, your swim jigs, and your frogs, and then and go fishing. You can really leave the finesse stuff at home on this body of water. And like I said, you don't get a lot of bites, but the ones you do get are quality. So you gotta keep mentally focused at all times and be ready, because you never know where it's coming from.
You see there where Keith
what I've
Poche,
noticed
he's made
from the
big
dam
run.
up
Yeah, I was
towards
just noticing that.
where we're at. We're up towards the mouth of the river here. I mean, that's the 43 bridge, and from there back, it's really just a big river. In the bottom, it's really a clean bottom. I mean, you can flip a 1.5 ounce weight, similar to we do in Florida, and you don't pick up any trash on the bottom. So, you know, this lake comes up and goes way down. This thing was 6-8 foot high just several weeks ago, and they flush it out so quick, which means you're going to have a clean bottom pretty much anywhere you go when you get a little deeper, because of the constant flow of them letting the water out. I mean, up the river, there's standing trash up on cypress trees 6-8 foot in the air, and it just lets you know that, you know, as quick as it comes up, as they flow it out. And that's a good thing. It keeps the bait moving, it keeps the fish active, and you know, it constantly pulling water from the back to clean it up a little bit more in other areas. And you know, the bottom is just a real nice hard bottom. You can flip a 1/2 ounce, you can, you know, and not pick up any trash on your thing. And from the dam down there, it's a lot of rocks, a lot of deeper water. It's got a big channel running through it, and but you know, that's where most of the water goes when they flush it out. It has to go to the dam. So naturally, that end of the lake is going to be a lot more dirtier, which explains why most of the fishermen are up this way, because of the cleaner water and more structure to fish.
And this is a primarily like swimming and skiing area, right?
You know, I would not recommend it here on Ross Barnett. I mean, just within the 4 or 5 hours we've been out here this morning, we've seen 8 or 10. You know, these aren't little gators either. They are big gators, and I'm used to alligators. We see a lot of them in Florida, but these don't shy away. These like to swim up and take a look and see what you're up to. I would not recommend any skiing or watercrafting, you know, maybe by the dam where it's deeper, but these gators like to get way up in this marsh, and they love the hot weather, so they'll get up there in sun, and when they're not used to seeing people, they're kind of curious, so they'll come look at the boat or swim up to you. And it's not the most pleasant thing in the world if you're not used to an alligator sighting, for sure. But if you want to see one, come to Ross Barnett and you will see all you want.
Curious and hungry gators.
Well, Steve Bowman mentioned this spawning season for gators as well, so they're exceptionally active right now. They build these big fancy nests and so forth, and then a few weeks they'll go up on dry land and dig a hole and lay their eggs in there. And you don't want to mess with them then either, I can promise you that.
It might even be more dangerous than hang gliding.
If you ever seen one get up on his legs and run, you'd know how dangerous, because they can move, believe me. Or get up on her legs and run. She's the one to look out for.
Oh, why'd it have to be muddy?
Sounds like Keith Poche's plan B doesn't look like he expected it to look when he got there. I noticed how muddy it looked, and by just hearing him there, I assume it just got that way in the last 24 hours or so.
We mentioned hashtag Bass Live as a way to get a question to us. We got Davey sitting here. Let's take advantage of that. I think we got some questions coming. Here we go. If the spawn is over on Ross Barnett, why are we not seeing guys fishing offshore for posts? I think we've hit that one before, but we can hit it again.
Maybe they weren't tuned in. The water quality has a lot to do with where these fish live, and it looks to me like these areas that had the vegetation has a better water quality. And like I mentioned earlier, Marc Davis and Keith Poche were offshore. This is where Bobby Lane's at. You can tell you'd call that the hard line or close to the bank, fishing where those fish would spawn. But they'll live in these areas too because of water quality. But there's ditches, and when we were showing the Lake Master map, the Hummingbird lay of the lake earlier, you could see all the maze of ditches and channels and that sort of thing. So those fish, they don't go miles offshore here, I don't think.
Yeah. Is Barnett the smallest lake the Elites have fished outside of the Classic? This season, that's certainly true.
Yes.
This season, for sure.
Yes.
Davey, what's the smallest fish you've ever fished on in a big competition with 100 guys?
Geez, I'm thinking about this size, about 30,000.
Sukon Sanders, Davey Hyatt running. What's up, guys? Not much. Okay, next question. Thank you. That was a good one.
Thanks for giving us a shout.
From the quad box, it looks like they're fishing 4 different bodies of water. Oftentimes that happens out here. We've seen that before.
What's so interesting about Bass Live and having multiple cameras out there, you see that the best in the business all have different approaches.
Yeah.
And obviously have had success. These guys aren't fishing the Elite Series because they haven't done well. They had to qualify to get here. And that's why it's so addicting to watch Bass Live and see guys like a Marc Davis, who has won 3 Angler of the Years, won a Bassmaster Classic, one of the best of all time, and what his approach. And then you got a Bobby Lane, and why he was my pick. He's really, really settled down with his flipping stick. He looks at home, and Florida waters are pressured, looks so similar to this, and we'll see how it works out. But it's just really cool. It seems like every event we go to, when you've got 4 or 5 cameras, you got the Rapala 5 Live View looking at 4 different shows by 4 tremendous professional anglers.
How many times do we say it looked like when we were at Conroe? We said it looks like 4 different lakes they're fishing, and that makes a good show. Absolutely. Thank you for those questions there. Keep them coming. We'd love to delve into that stuff with you.
Because we think they're fishing in a crowd, but if all 109 went to the same spot, it'd really get crowded.
Yeah, it would look really weird.
Thank goodness they do have different ideas and different approaches, and you tend to lean towards what works for you and what you've had success doing. We saw Keith Poche catching his fish this morning on a frog. I think that's one of his favorite, if not his favorite technique. Bobby Lane's up there in that shallow vegetation flipping. And you can learn so much from the best at what they do and what they're good at.
Now, where Mark and Bobby are fishing right now, you'd look at that water and it doesn't look like exceptionally muddy or anything like that. But Steve Bowman was saying, even though that's relatively so much clearer than where Keith Poche is, it's you can't see 3 inches into it. You can't see a stump, he said.
With Steve Bowman and Bobby Lane, when I was just listening to Bobby, they make a great point. When we were doing Bass Live for the Okeechobee event and talked about the dirty water and the wind really hurting the fishery, hurting the being able to catch the fish and these fish leaving areas, it's because you have all those years of decayed vegetation. Bobby mentioned that here at Ross Barnett, they lower this lake up and down, and it keeps that bottom hard, and it keeps that decayed vegetation blown away or in other places. So these fish, the dirty water, even though they're both dirty, is two total different scenarios where these fish are accustomed to this dirty water. It's not decayed vegetation, and they just live there. Now they want some cleaner water, not just like it looks like Poche has there. But these fish are used to it. You have hard bottom. Hard bottom is such an important factor when you're fishing.
Well, David, we just had a question come in. A viewer wanted to know how do you find the hard bottom? And it's easier to find it on your electronics, but when you're flipping shallow stuff, how do you know you're fishing hard cover?
That's a great point. And you answered it right. When it's 5 feet or more, you can find it with your electronics. It's real easy to identify with your electronics, but up in this thick vegetation, it's harder to find, but it's so important to find. Like Bobby mentioned, the size of your sinker, and when it hits the bottom, you can feel and you can tell the difference between hard and soft bottom. The other thing that I'm sure Bobby knows, the types of vegetation that tend to grow on hard bottom versus soft bottom. Your lily pads will grow on the softer bottom than some of this stuff like Bobby's fishing here, the reeds, and you learn which types of vegetation grow on that hard bottom, so it makes it easier for you to go focus on that. And then when you pitch your lure in there, you can feel the bottom.
Well, and that was, those are almost, in areas like this with so much cover, wouldn't you say that those hard bottom spots are where you can catch a lot of fish real quick, like we saw Marty Robinson catch 2 or 3, in short order.
Yep.
That's where they spawn. That's also where, shad like to gather around all that hard cover, hard bottom.
They do, and bass do also, if you don't have hard bottom. But I asked Steve Bowman, if I know you guys were listening, but maybe some other people weren't. I was real curious why we didn't have some of the fishermen focusing on the stumps, because if you have soft bottom and you have stumps, those fish will use those stumps just like it was a rock or a piece of hard bottom. But when you've got a lot of hard bottom, they don't tend to use the stumps as much. Like Cherokee Lake, where you've got rock everywhere, and you've got a stump, they don't tend to use those stumps as much. They will still use them some for shade and that sort of thing. And you don't see stumps at Okeechobee, so that's not a good scenario.
When you move up the Harris chain, they use the pad roots like that, right? Yeah.
They're very adaptable, and they will use whatever hard bottom they have. Now, at Ross Barnett, like I mentioned, I've not been there, but I've been listening close to these pros, and there's good hard bottom, so the stumps aren't as big a factor as they would be if you had soft bottom there.
Another question from Anthony Leonard wants to know, could you hazard a guess on the perfect color for this dirty water there?
Well, the first color that comes to mind in dirty water is black blue. And you've seen Bobby Lane, that's what he's pitching. The darker water, the darker colors. And they make a million different colors. That's what keeps the plastic bait companies in business, that's for sure. But if I had to pick one, it would be black blue. I was fishing local night tournaments when I was 13 years old on Lake Murray, and it amazed me why a black worm with a blue tail or a black worm with a red tail worked better at night. You would think a white would work better.
Yeah, we need something neon or something, right? Yeah.
Bobby Lane might not catch another fish today, but I like what he's doing.
Yeah.
And he's good at it. We'll see. Certainly don't blame, and I like what Poche has done to Marc Davis. In my opinion, they made the right move. You had to give it a shot. But
yeah. keep it honest and move on.
Not many places we go, you catch 40 pounds off of a small spot and go back the next day. And
that's true.
Do well again.
We've been at it about 3 hours now. Let's take a look and what did we just see? That's the question right now. That's why we have the Power Pole replay of the day. We'll start the day off with Brandon Card right here, and a pretty good start for Brandon Card.
It really was. Brandon Card caught 22 pounds yesterday on this topwater bait. Today he caught lots of fish, but just not the size he was looking for. But leading a Bassmaster Elite tournament, getting bites on topwater, it doesn't get a lot better than that.
No,
just need a little size.
Good stuff right there from Brandon Card using a similar presentation lure. Looked very familiar from the last time we saw him last year at Bassett.
Yep. And we got some good stuff. Saw him being patient. Several of these fish bit 2 or 3 times, and he waited on them to hook up and did a good job here getting this fish with treble hooks everywhere outside his mouth, swinging it right over that chain.
Perfect. Pulled him right over that chain. That looks a little bit better. Knuckle.
Here's the one I think he misses. 2, 3. Third time that fish came up, so many people, including myself sometimes, would have not waited to see that bait go under the water and set the hook a little too soon, and would have never caught that fish. He did a good job there being patient.
Well, like you say, Davey, it's a lot of fun getting to see guys doing exactly what they love to do, what they want to do. That's a treat for all of us right now because they're the best in the world. We're coming back. We're going to take a good long extended midday break as we always do, but we will be back at 11:30 Central, 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time, bringing the last 3 hours of fishing more or less here at Ross Barnett Reservoir. So we are looking very much forward to that. They say there's a little bite action at the end of the day. We've had a lull. I've had enough of that.
I've had enough of that too, but Brandon Card caught his biggest fish, or a couple of his big fish, in the afternoon. I think he's on his way to that spot right now, so we'll certainly be on him when we come back.
He was talking this morning about his little grass deal he had going later in the day, so as the winds pick up and conditions continue to change, we got some high hopes for the second half of Bassmaster Live, and we'll be back with that in an hour and a half. Thanks for being with us this morning.